All right. Looks like we have everybody in and our live stream is working. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mel Barnes. I'm the Governor's Chief Legal Counsel and Chair of the Pardon Advisory Board. I'm going to introduce my fellow board members to you, and then I'll go through some housekeeping items about how today's hearing is going to run, and then we'll go ahead and get started hearing from all of you. So with me today in the Zoom, we have Pardon Advisory Board member Reverend Jerry Hancock. He's the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. We also have board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as the Deputy Secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She served as a division administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. And we have board member Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is AG Call's nominee to this board. He served as Milwaukee County Circuit Court Judge for 26 years, including serving as Chief Judge for 7 of those years before retiring in 2018. I will run through just a few details about how the hearing is going to work today, and then we will dive in. So just a reminder, today's hearing is being live streamed on Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. We'll ask you to please mute yourself and keep your video off until it is your turn to be heard by the board. That'll make sure that we have good audio quality and we can focus on the person who's presenting. If you do run into any IT issues, don't worry about it. Someone from staff will give you a call, and if we need to come back to you because Zoom isn't cooperating when it's your turn, we'll certainly do that. Otherwise, we will hear from folks in the order listed on the agenda and open meetings notice. Each person will have about 5 minutes with the board. We'll ask you to use the first 3 of those minutes speaking to the questions that we sent you in advance. As a reminder, those are to please provide us with a brief summary of your offense and how your sentence went. We're not here to retry the crime. You don't need to minimize your involvement. We just want to hear from you in your own words what happened. Second, to give us a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement, employment, basically where you're at now in your life and how that's different from the time of your offense. And then finally, third, a brief statement on why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. After you spend about 3 minutes speaking to those questions, we'll open it up to see what other questions the board may have for you. Don't read too much into it either way if we do have questions or don't. Sometimes everything's covered in your materials, which we've already spent quite a bit of time with. But if there are questions that the board needs clarified in order to make an informed recommendation to the governor, we want to make sure we get to those. So if you're veering past those 3 minutes, I may prompt you to move along so we can open it up to those questions. Once you are done with any questions the board has for you, you're welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom hearing. And once everyone has been heard, the board will meet in closed session to decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present in order for your application to be forwarded on to the governor, who will then make a final decision about granting or rejecting your application. Either way, you'll hear about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month or 2. We know you've been really patient just to get to today's hearing, but ask for just a little bit more patience so that we can make that recommendation to the governor and get your materials in front of him. So with that, we will go ahead and start with our first applicant of this morning's hearing, which is Christopher Olsen. Mr. Olsen, we're ready to turn it over to you.
Excellent, and thank you so much for having me here today. I want to thank the Pardon Advisory Board for listening to me. So I want to talk first about my conviction that occurred on March 17th of 2016 for fleeing and eluding an officer. I was sentenced to 2 years of probation and actually was given early release on August 31st of 2017. The incident did occur on September 13th of 2015. I was struggling for about 5 years with pretty severe depression and alcoholism, and I was drinking that day and just didn't want to come home and admit to my wife that I was drinking. So I did pull over to the side of the road where an officer was called to my car by a concerned citizen and approached my car, tried to wake me up and have me exit my car. I did end up leaving that scene and driving 0.6 miles just because I was very incoherent with myself at that time, where I did pull over eventually after, again, 0.6 miles, and then did at that point be arrested by the police officers here in the city of Waukesha. What have I done since? A lot. I have actually been in the field of mental health and substance use recovery for the last 9+ years. Shortly after my release, I went and went back to treatment for 5 weeks at Rogers Memorial Hospital in December of 2016 and December of 2015 and January of 2017. Eventually, I did gain employment at Salvation Army February of 2016, and I was a house manager for 1 year, where I was there leading the guys there with the shelter in terms of doing some groups and other things. Went back to school in September of 2016, and I became a substance abuse counselor in training eventually, and worked as a residential counselor for 2 years at the Manor. Eventually, after that, I became a recovery coach in March of 2018 through CCAR, and was working in the emergency rooms helping people out there recently overdosing. I also became a naloxone state administrator trainer, doing Narcan trainings throughout the state. I became trained by DHS in September 20th of 2022. I joined Clean Slate Medical Centers as an operations manager back in November of 2018 as an operations manager for 5 years, where I was assisting people that were struggling with opioid and alcohol disorders as well. I've gained numerous certifications along the way. My most recent one has been the mental health first aid facilitator training. So now I'm training people on mental health first aid. Currently, I am employed with Miramont Behavioral Health as a community liaison. I do travel around southeastern Wisconsin to various organizations and hospitals trying to help people out that are struggling with behavioral health. I have been able to speak at a lot of different engagements and do a lot of different trainings and workshops. Currently, I'm engaged with NAMI and also Salvation Army here in Waukesha, doing life skills classes every other Monday night with a gentleman there as well. Volunteer work and community work is really part of what I've been doing, part of my recovery. So I have, again, a lengthy list of certifications I've gotten along the way in my recovery, but also I'm approaching 10 years of sobriety. So I'm excited for what I'm able to do for the last 10 years. I am seeking a pardon today from the board because of everything I've done in terms of the work I've done to turn my life around. Also, I am looking into furthering myself in my career and gaining licenses, and also running for public office eventually as well. And background checks can take obviously a lengthy period of time, as I have experienced before in the past when I became a substance use counselor in training. It did take a little bit of time through DSPS to get my license done. So I guess that's what I have.
Thank you, Mr. Olsen. Questions from the board? Cindy.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Olsen.
Yes.
Congratulations on your recovery and continued sobriety and the work you do in that field, which is so important. As part of the application process, people are encouraged to submit letters of support for their application, and you didn't submit any. And I'm puzzled by that and wonder if you could explain to us why not.
Yeah, there was a timeline for me to get the application in, and I really wanted to get this done after 5 years being off of my probation. So I was not necessarily trying to get the letters of recommendation as much as I was trying to get the application done in time. I did get letters of recommendation in order to get my early release from my probation back in 2017. So if that answers your question.
But we don't have access to those. You didn't submit those with your application.
Oh, I didn't? Oh, that's correct. Yeah, sorry.
So we wouldn't have access to that. It's just that you've done such important work. You have a lot of, you're not, you're quite open about your issues in recovery, and it just it's helpful to the board when we have letters from others attesting to the progress you've made and the work you do. So it's certainly not a requirement, but I'm just curious why you didn't submit any. So thank you.
Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Olsen, how do you maintain your own sobriety?
So my time through treatment back in 2016 was just a motivational start for me. Being in this field, I know through recovery that I can live a life better destined than I was ever before. So I'm really passionate about searching and identifying ways for other people to also maintain sobriety and find recovery. I am just so passionate about it.
Okay, my question was, how do you maintain your personal sobriety?
Yeah, I do it through my own action wellness plan. I have a very good routine throughout my day in terms of gaining sleep, in terms of also having my time for self-care throughout my day, with work and other things I have going on in my life. I maintain a very healthy work-life balance and have great boundaries I've created as well.
And I was interested to see about your work in recovery in emergency rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk just briefly about how that works?
Yeah. The ED2 recovery program is a program that I worked for a little while, where area hospitals in Milwaukee would be calling essentially a supervisor for this program, who would reach out to one of the people that were on call, and reach out to us to go into the emergency rooms to assist people that have recently overdosed, either on opioids, and essentially assist them with gaining some resources and trying to motivate them to find recovery. That's one of the things I've done. I've also partnered with other hospitals too on a personal level. So if attending physicians would see someone who would be in a crisis situation, I could go in and work with them too, as far as offering peer support at a different level.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions from the board? All right, thank you, Mr. Olsen. I think that covers it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for your time with the board this morning.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Robert Green. Mr. Green, we're ready to turn it over to you.
Hello?
Mr. Green?
Yes.
All right, we can hear you. We could briefly see you, but it looks like your camera's off again. Are you able to turn that back on?
Trying right now. Yes.
There we go. Excellent. Go ahead.
What am I about to say? Why I want a pardon?
So we're going to ask you to spend about 3 minutes speaking to those questions that we sent you in advance, which is a reminder of giving us a brief summary of the offense, a brief summary of how your sentence went, how your life is different now, whether that's employment, community involvement, and then finally a brief statement on why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one.
My original offense was from 2001, I believe. Drugs. And what was the second question?
Why don't we take them in order? I can repeat them as we go. Tell us a little bit more about your offense. You mentioned it was drugs, but what happened?
Oh, I was young and I was selling drugs. And I got caught, convicted, pleaded guilty. Got what did I get? A 5-year state sentence. And I was sentenced to a first-time felon program. Then I successfully completed that. Then I had 4 years of extended supervision, which I successfully completed that, which is really, really hard to do. Then after that, I got out. I maintained employment right away when I got out, 2002. I want to say the next day. I've still been employed at the same job ever since. That was what, 24 years ago. So I'm going on 45 in July. And I'm seeking a pardon because I want to get this off my record behind me, change my life. I have kids now, trying to buy property. And I want to own a gun legally. So that's why I'm seeking a pardon today.
Thank you. We'll open it up and see if the board has other questions for you. Judge Kremers.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So it looks like, so you were convicted in 2001, you said, or thereabouts. You said you then you got out through some kind of a treatment program. Is that right?
It was a first-time felon program.
Yeah. But then in 2007, yeah. So then in 2007, though, you were convicted of possession of marijuana.
Yes.
So you were still using after this program.
That was 2 different drugs.
Well, okay. But then it looks like you also got arrested for possession of cocaine in 2006. What was that about? That charge was dismissed, but what was that situation?
I honestly never really understood that situation. I didn't know anything about cocaine in 2006.
Okay. What about 2018? You were charged with or arrested for possession of cocaine with intent to deliver. And possession of marijuana with intent to deliver and possession of a firearm. What was that situation about?
That was a situation where a lot of us was around a situation and nobody said anything that had nothing to do with me. I didn't say anything. I didn't know about no drugs, and it just took me down and arrested. Those charges were dropped.
Okay. And where are you working right now?
Working at Culver's Frozen Custard in Brookfield.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Other questions from the board? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Green, the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office supports your application for a pardon. And the Milwaukee County judge who reviewed your application supports you're getting a pardon. Now, Governor Evers will make the final choice, but how does that support make you feel?
That support makes me feel awesome, actually. Awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Green. So you've worked at Culver's since 1997, is that right?
Yes, I have. I was 16 years old when I first started working here.
That's amazing. Good for you. In your application, you mentioned that you are studying for your GED. Have you made any progress on that?
Not currently. No, I haven't.
Okay, you're going to continue to pursue that though?
Yes, I am. It's on my to-do list.
Okay, I hope you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Green? All right, thank you for your time this morning, Mr. Green. I appreciate it and hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. All right, next up we have William Morrissey. Mr. Morrissey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Did you hear the questions that we're going to ask you to respond to at the beginning? Otherwise, I can repeat those for you.
You could just go ahead and ask the questions, but okay. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, so we'll ask you to spend, you'll have about 5 minutes total with the board. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 of those speaking to the questions you were sent in advance. So as a reminder, that's giving us a brief summary of the offense that you're seeking a pardon for, a brief summary of how your sentence went, and then community involvement, employment, things like that since, how your life is different now. And then finally, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why the governor should grant you one. Once you get through those, we'll open it up to other questions the board may have for you.
Excellent.
Mr. Morrissey, you can go ahead and dive right in with that 3-minute statement if you're ready.
Okay, excellent. My name is William Morrissey. This is my second time in front of the parole board. Last time I didn't get a vote. I think that was maybe my fault. I sort of froze up. I was at work at my post at the time, and I had crew. I was working for the state government in New Jersey at the time. I was a supervisor, and I had a railroad crew show up during the interview, so I didn't really say much. Nevertheless, this is my second time. It's been several years. I feel I'm worthy of a pardon. I've gone above and beyond. Describing myself, I'd like to say I say this without any type of arrogance. or bravado, but I would say, a success story. I've had one felony in my life stemming from this case. There's been nothing subsequent. I chair several companies. I employ 63 people full-time. That will increase by 100 more within the next year. I had an agro-industrial venture that's in the United States as well as the Dominican Republic, where I'm currently at right now. I've donated in excess of $1 million to charity and foundations here in Haiti, here in the Dominican Republic, as well as helping people in the United States. I'm a high net worth individual. I'm a C-suite executive. I turned my life around. I got into counseling, which took a long time. I spent 7 years in the public sector with the New Jersey State Railroad at New Jersey Transit during the pandemic, frontline employee. I've been involved in community activities. I've been involved in charitable ventures continuously. I've been involved in Habitat for Humanity down here. I help Haitian refugees in this country as well. I'm a father of several children. I went on to get my GED, my diploma. Subsequently, went to the University of Minnesota after. Went into public sector. I had a few letters the last time from active police officer, from a therapist I was seeing for 10 years, a notable professor at NYU, a former employee that I was working part-time. When it was time, I went back to Wisconsin and turned myself in to deal with the charges. I absconded day one back in the 90s. This is from 1997 for use of a credit card that wasn't mine. I was young, in the streets, didn't really have anything. I stayed in touch with the parole officer. She always said that I'd have to come back to deal with it. It took me about 12 years to come back. I was a single father with 2 kids with no other support. So until I had them stable enough, I wasn't able to do it. But as soon as I went back to Wisconsin to deal with it. What else? Just a lifetime of public service, a lifetime of giving. I made a mistake when I was young, and I'm looking to rectify that. I'm nearly 50 years old. It was an isolated incident. There's been nothing since. So the chances of recidivism is 0. And I do a lot of good, and I help a lot of people. I mean, aside from employees, I pay the tuition of a lot of people's kids down here. I'm seeking this for residency purposes. I predominantly outside, but I do have ventures in Montana and Wyoming. I have different licensing and stuff. And I mean, I'm really looking just for the chance to start over. I think by example, I've proven this. I believe as I've taught my kids, it's the deeds, not the words. And my deeds speak for themselves. This is why I'm seeking a pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Morrissey. We'll open up and see if the board has other questions for you. Board members? Cindy.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Morrissey.
Good morning.
Can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned the credit card part of the crime. You tried to buy some computers, but in the scuffle over the credit card, the clerk was punched by you. Is that correct?
That's incorrect, and that was dropped. But he did grab me. He did grab me, tried to stop me, and I ran away.
And there was no scuffle between the two of you? I mean, according to the criminal complaint.
Let's be frank. We understand the nature of criminal initially, but I'm sure Wisconsin wouldn't have been keen to drop that if there was any validity into it. He grabbed me and tried to pull. I pulled away. We never hit. We never exchanged blows or anything. He grabbed my shirt and I pulled away and ran away. That was the extent of it.
Okay. At the time, and charges get dropped and amended for all kinds of reasons. So all we can go on is what the criminal complaint says. Whether you were eventually, that charge was dismissed doesn't mean it didn't happen. The behavior didn't happen. I'm sure you understand that. But at the time, he says that you swung at him and struck him on the left jaw with a fist. So you're saying that didn't happen?
No, I mean, the stores have cameras. It was a Best Buy, no, not a Best Buy, Office Depot or Office Max, one of those stores that was still around. There was cameras, there was a scuffle. And again, there's a lot of heated. I surrendered to the police. I pled guilty to the crimes. I took full accountability. So it's not that I'm trying to evade this. If I got into a scuffle with them, I'd admit we got into a scuffle as a man in exchange, but that's not what happened at the time. But he did grab me. He did try to grab me up, and I slipped away, but there was no exchange of blows of any sort.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I was muted, but Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Morrissey, the last time you applied, you listed your employment as a bridge operator in New Jersey.
Correct.
And
for
now
the New Jersey.
List your employment as President CEO of Antilles LLC. Just briefly, how did you go from being a bridge operator in New Jersey to being president of Antilles LLC?
Excellent question, sir. Well, during the time, the job as a bridge engineer allowed me a lot of free time at the location. So I studied and I started other businesses and I invested continuously while I was there. At that time, I was seeking a pardon to go into the engineering program for locomotives for career advancement. But after being denied the pardon, there was no further career advancement for me. So I had to focus full time on my personal ventures. And this is what I subsequently did, which was a blessing in disguise. And by the way, I will say that going to prison, I do not regret going to prison in Wisconsin. Not that it was necessarily a violent crime. I paid restitution for the computers. I never had them. I served my time. But it really allowed me to try to regroup and focus and took me off the streets and sort of started me on a path, which was a long journey, but it was, for lack of better, it was a good thing. And same thing with the pardon and denial. It put me in the position where I'm at now and helped me do things. And I believe in being factual and direct. So there's no qualms about it. Everything I say is verifiable.
And so exactly what does Antilles LLC do?
Well, Antilles LLC is the parent holding company for several ventures I have. I have ventures in Wyoming, ventures in Montana, as well as down here we're focused. I have 12,500 acres here in the Caribbean, which is an agro-industrial venture that we're focused on. We're building out right now, which is our focus is on growing organic produce, poultry, and meat. We have a piggery, we have chicken farming, we grow crops. We're waiting on greenhouses now to expand that for our microgreens, our peppers, our tomatoes. I employ a lot of people down here, but we also have a rock mine on the property as well, where we dig road base and sell road base and materials for the local market for building pads and stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Morrissey. Appreciate your time this morning and hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Thank you. Can I say one more thing? I appreciate everybody's time. If there's any questions or anything needs to be verifiable, I can. Again, I have an 8-figure net worth. I do a lot of charity, and I would say that it'd be hard pressed to find someone that's actively given over $1 million to multiple charities. I build houses, I feed people, I send dozens of people to school. I have 63 employees that we're about to increase that. I would say that I'm a positive member of the community, both here in the Dominican Republic as well as the United States. I pay a lot in taxes. I do a lot of good stuff. When my kids were young, when the schools in California had shortages for classes, I was sending entire grades on class trips to the museums, to the galleries, paying for the buses. I was coaching sports at the time. It took me a long time to get stuff. It took me 10 years of counseling to work on my personal issues. The last thing I'd like to mention is I've done a lot of work, a lot of advocacy work for sexual abuse victims. I think I was monumental in helping push a law into New Jersey for victims to be able to get recognition. So I've done a lot of advocacy work with that, with Senator Vitale of New Jersey, with Professor Marcy Hamilton, with her foundation. I'm involved in foundations down here with a local church foundation, as well as schooling. So I think all that speaks for itself. And again, all of it's verifiable. There's no ego. There's no sense of inflating. I'm a very humble person and respectful. I've been fortunate to have opportunities, and I try to give other people opportunity like that. I'm not really a political person, but I would just like to say that. And if I was given the opportunity of this, it wouldn't be a mistake. The governor wouldn't regret it. And I think, it speaks for itself. And again, it's been 28 years and there's not been one incident. There's not been an arrest. There's not been an accusation. There's not been 50 years old almost now. And I was 20 years old at the time.
Thank you, Mr. Morrissey. I don't want to cut you off, but I know you covered a lot of this in your application. So I just want to assure you we've spent a lot of time reviewing that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. You as well. All right, next up we have Shaun Daniels. Mr. Daniels.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Daniels.
Just go right into it.
Yes, please.
Okay. I believe I first.
I'm sorry, Mr. Daniels. 1 second, Reverend Hancock.
I need to recuse myself on this hearing.
Okay, sounds good. Mr. Daniels, Reverend Hancock will be going off camera and not participating in your hearing, but the rest of us are ready to hear from you, so please take it away.
Okay. Thank you guys for hearing me this morning, actually. I believe I first offended in 92, selling possession of narcotics. For me, I was young and dumb and homeless and in the streets, so that was a means of what I was doing, growing up in Chicago. It's a pit bull factory. Hate to be cliche, but fatherless. So, there's a period in time where I was lost in direction. I think I got 3.5 years. I served a year. I got out, kind of ended up back in the same situation, reoffended. And with that time, I ended up going to boot camp. I did a 6 months intensive. It was like AODA, drug and alcohol. It was criminal thinking. And I did that, then 10 years paper, and I haven't reoffended since. Since then, I'm a father of 2, a grandfather of 5. The reason I'm asking for this pardon is I'm trying to better my life. I'm trying to better my family's life. I'm the head of my family, and my son is a junior, so he has my name, and I would hate for him to ever be in a situation due to having the same. I've always been slightly feared that, him having my name, it would be issues for him. So, but I am an electrician. I've been an electrician for about 27 years. I've also started my own trunking company, which I'm trying to grow with my son. I do a lot of volunteer work. For that, I'm on the e-board, the executive board for the IBW. This is my 2nd time, and I'm starting to run for my 3rd term. I'm president of the EWMC within the IBEW, which is the Electric Workers Minority Caucus. This is my 2nd term, and I'm getting ready to run for my 3rd term. We do a lot of volunteer work. With COVID, River Food Pantry got a grant for money to upgrade their freezers. We built freezers. We volunteered Second Harvest. I coached 20 years. I fostered 12 kids. We do Take Your Kid Fishing Day every year. Solace House is a home for people getting out of the hospital who can end their end of life care. We helped remodel that place for them. I've cleaned parks in Chicago. I've worked at the volunteered at the Buffalo Soldier Museum in Houston. We do fantasy and lights every year. We build displays. We maintain the park. I was lucky enough to be in the motorcade for President Biden, which I thought my record would not allow that. I tutored algebra and math for kids that were struggling trying to get an apprenticeship for a spell. Career fairs. I've cleaned the Veterans Hospital in Milwaukee. We got that next weekend again. I've gone and talked to kids at boys' facilities. I've phone banked. I've door knocked. We've donated 30 bikes last year to the Santa Claus workshop at the Sylvie. We always volunteer there. We do a prison advocacy thing at Just Dane once a month for guys that are getting out, trying to help them get into trade. So I just try to give back as much as I can.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. And certainly an impressive record of giving back. Board members, questions for Mr. Daniels? Judge Kremers.
I've got a couple. First, though, how did you end up doing whatever you did with the Buffalo Soldiers Museum?
My EWMC group, we do a day of service every year. And then when we have our national conference, whatever state and town we visit, we always do a day of service there to affect that community.
Okay, very cool. So going back to your first crime was in 92, you got 5 years probation. And then if I understand correctly, while you were on probation, you got charged with the second offense. So your probation was revoked. You went to prison, then you got paroled and you successfully completed parole. Do I have that sequence right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me, why did you get a sawed-off shotgun in the second offense? What was that about?
To be honest, that wasn't even mine. Somebody needed money that I was friends with and gave it to me to collateral and never came back to get it. And I was contemplating throwing it away in the dumpster. I was afraid to take it to the police, to be honest. I didn't know what to do with it. So I was just kind of stuck with it. The guy was trying to sell it to me. I didn't want it. But then he pawns it to me like an idiot, and I took it, and he never came back. So
okay,
that honestly wasn't even mine.
Sorry. My last question is, do you still owe money for unpaid fines, or did you pay that off?
Oh, yes, I do. I went down. I honestly didn't know I even owed anything, but I just found out that I did, and I went down and created a payment plan and started that.
And how long is it going to take you to pay that? Because it looks like it's around $1,200 maybe.
Yes.
And how long is it going to pay that off?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm trying to get going with my trucking this summer, and if I get my trucking going, I'm going to jump right on that as much fast as possible, to be honest.
Well, let me put it this way. It's not up to me. It's up to the governor. But if about whether you get a partner or not, but if it was contingent on you paying off your restitution, how long would it take you to do it?
I mean, if I had to borrow it to do it, I'd borrow it to do it today, to be honest. I don't have it in my pocket today. I'm in the process of prepping my truck for the summer. And to be honest, tires are expensive. Oil change is $500. So I'm in the process of getting my truck running. And once I get going there, that opens everything else up for me.
Okay. Thank you.
But if I had to borrow it, I'd borrow it today.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Daniels, just one for me. I just wanted to note that the judge who reviewed your application did respond to us to let us know that they support your application. So while the governor will make the final decision, I wanted to make sure you knew that, and we'll certainly pass that information on to the governor as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we are ready to hear from our next applicant then. So Mr. Daniels, thank you for your time and hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for hearing me again.
Thank you. All right, we've got Reverend Hancock back, and our next applicant is Olides Lazcano. Mr. Lazcano, I believe I saw you in the Zoom. There we are.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to start with my offenses. My first offense, I was 17 years old. I got caught with some marijuana. They charged me as an adult. I ended up doing 30. I got a sentence of 30 months. At that time, I was under the old law, which was still parole. So I saw the parole board, and they paroled me after serving about a year. I got out. I'm a 19-year-old kid, angry at the world, and employment was hard to find, especially being a felon, being a 19-year-old kid. I was a single father. I had my first child when I was 16 years old, so I was a kid that had a kid. And once I couldn't find employment, I went back and reoffended. That was the second time I got caught with marijuana, delivery of marijuana. There was 2 charges on that account. That time I went back and they threw the book at me. I received a lot of time. They gave me 9 years in, 6 years out. Luckily, they gave me the earned release program. I took advantage of that. I had to do 25% of my incarceration time. While I was waiting to get into that, I did as many programs as I could. I took Victim Impact. I took AACANA, 13 Feathers. I took parenting. Everything I could to keep myself busy. I took vocational. That way, when I got out, I didn't want to go back. I got out after about 2.5 years with a long probation and parole ahead of me. So I just dove into taking care of my son. I went to court. I got full placement. I got full placement, and wanted to make sure that my son didn't go through what I did. So I devoted my life to taking care of my son and working as much as I could. It was hard because when I got out, I tried going into the medical field. I tried being a medical interpreter, and I got denied because I had a drug charge. So the medical field was out for me. I went to go try to get my CDL. They said, you have a delivery charge, so you have a lifetime ban of not being able to get your CDL. So I went back and being a mechanic since I was young. I went back to what I knew, and I started working as a mechanic and working my way up, and eventually I ended up buying my own tow truck, and I started a repo business. This was more towards the end of my probation and parole, which I completed with no offenses. I never got in trouble again. I did everything I was supposed to. I'm really proud that I completed all my probation and parole with no offenses. It's really hard. I mean, especially I did 13.5 years of probation and parole. I got off 1.5 years early because my PO put in for my early release. Told me I was doing good. And at the same time, I was trying to open up my repo company, and I had a contract with this company, and they told me that, what's going on with your record? I was like, well, that's all behind me. And I got denied. I got denied by the judge, and with no cause. So I petitioned the court to give me a cause, and I went back in front of the judge, and it was, the judge said, well, since you've already done 13 and a half years of probation and parole, I figured what was another year and a half? And I was like, well, sir, that just costed me a big contract, and I trying to get on with my life and move forward, and just set me back quite a bit. And after that, I lost my contract. I had to sell my truck. Now I'm just working out of my garage, trying to make ends meet, trying to see if I can get this, see if I can get my pardon to try to go get my CDL. It would be nice. I'm just trying to move forward with my life. It's been 25 years almost. And I just want to move forward. My son's already 26 years old. I'm a granddad. And best thing I ever did was make sure that my son didn't make the same mistakes I did. He's a good father, a lot better than me. If there's any questions, I'd like to answer whatever questions you guys may have.
Thank you, Mr. Lazcano. Does anyone have questions? Reverend Hancock.
Your story is so compelling about your devotion to your son, who you had when you were 16.
Yes,
how's he doing?
He's doing great. He works at a company that fills up ATM machines. He's an armed guard. I'm really proud of him. He's been thinking his stepfather's a police officer for the city of Milwaukee. He's been thinking about possibly becoming a police officer. I encouraged him. I told him, go for it. I encourage everything that he tries to do that's positive.
Sounds like you were a pretty good dad too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Lazcano. Appreciate your time this morning and hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good day.
You as well. All right. Next up, we have Jita Shadwick. Ms. Shadwick. Oh, you're still muted, Ms. Shadwick.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Whew. Tough crowd to follow. I was convicted back in 2014 for party to crime, retail theft. I was on probation for a year. I was ordered to pay restitution. I did complete the program successfully. I've always worked in the healthcare field. I've been a certified nursing assistant for over 20 years. And I would like to be pardoned because I just really, really want that chapter of my life closed. Although it was 14 years ago, it still comes back, like if you apply for a job. Like I just recently gained employment for the city through Southern Wisconsin Center. And when I initially applied, I was denied because of this. So I reapplied and then I submitted my paperwork to them that I was in the process with you guys of getting pardoned. And I had to write a lengthy letter explaining what happened, basically what I'm doing now, what happened, um, what did I do to complete the program? What am I doing now? What have I done? And by the grace of God, I did get that job. I start that at the end of the week, but I have maintained employment since this incident. As I stated before, I've been in the healthcare field for about 20 years now. So, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Shadwick. We'll open it up to other questions from the board. Board members? Judge Kremers.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Couple of questions. First, you mentioned that you were ordered to pay just under $5,000 in restitution.
Yes.
Did you pay all that restitution?
As of right now, I have it down to about $700. And the debt was also referred to the IRS. So my wages are being garnished. At first, it was at 20%, and now I'm down to 20%. So they take out 20% out of each check. And I did submit check stubs where you can see the garnishment that comes out. But I do have it down to about $700 right now.
And is the only way you're paying it off is through the garnishment of your wages? You're not paying anything extra on top of that?
I actually did probably because it was higher than that. And I called in and I made a payment on my own of about $600, and I got it down to the 700 or 800. But that was over 8 to 9 months ago. So the garnishment, I'm sure that it's under the 700 now.
Okay, and then you told us about what happened with the 2006 restraining order against you, but there was also in 2015, were you convicted of retail theft again?
Yes, that's what the felony is for the charge.
Well, that was the 2000. Okay,
Yes.
Sorry, I missed that.
The
timing of that. I think. Oh, in 2023, you had a forfeiture action.
Yes, and I was just made aware of this about 3 weeks ago. I received a call from a collection. Well, actually, I kind of was made aware of it back in December when I was closing on my home. I purchased the home in December, and that came up. And I didn't know what they were talking about. I had no clue. It said municipal court. So I initially thought that it was for parking tickets. And I kind of didn't, it kind of went over my head. So about 2 weeks ago, I received a phone call from a collection agency saying that I have an outstanding balance for $500. And when she read the charges off to me, I had no clue of what she was speaking about. I literally thought that someone had used my identity. So she told me that I would have to go down to the police station. So I went to the police station. The officer pulled the case up. She told me it was municipal court. So I contacted municipal court, and then I was told that it's through the sheriff's department. So I went down there physically, and she told me what the charges were. So back in 2023, I flew to Turkey for to have a surgery done. I went to Turkey to have a surgery done. On my way back, a 24-hour flight, there was an incident with another passenger. And I left that incident thinking, okay, this is just some rude, crazy lady. And apparently she pressed charges for something that I didn't do. She said that I was intoxicated. I don't drink. She said that I revealed myself. I showed my body parts. Why would I show myself on a plane? Why would I become nude on a plane? And then she insinuated that I assaulted her, and that never happened, when in fact, she insulted me. I had just had a rhinoplasty. I visibly had 2 black eyes. I had a cast on my nose. A piece of my rib was taken out. And this woman literally took her elbow and nudged me in my area where I just had surgery. So just the other day, when I went down to the safety building, I had to write a letter to the judge to reopen the case because they sent all the paperwork to an old address. So I was never informed of the court date. I had no knowledge of the court date. Otherwise, I would have shown up and told the judge my side of the story. So now I'm hoping that the judge will reopen the case so that I can tell my side of the story because none of this never took place.
Okay. Thank you.
Cindy.
Good morning, Ms. Shadwick. Thank you for appearing before us today. You know, as part of the application process, and you may have heard me ask a previous applicant this, but letters of recommendation and letters of support for your application are highly recommended. And you didn't submit any letters of support. Can you tell us why not?
There's really no personal reason. This is just the process I kind of felt like I got myself into by myself. So I kind of need to get myself out of it by myself. And then honestly, had I asked like an employer or a supervisor, this is embarrassing. This is not something that you just, just go around, hey, I'm a felon. Can you write me a letter of recommendation? Do you know what I mean? So.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why a lot of people put in letters from family members or, others that it's not just, you don't have to have it just for employers, but it's helpful for the board to get other letters showing the changes you've made in your life from the perspective of other people close to you. So as I said, it's not required. I was just curious why you didn't submit any. So thank you for your response to that. I just have one other quick question. You mentioned you just recently got hired and you're going to start next week. Where was that again?
It's for Southern Wisconsin Center,
Okay.
behavioral health facility, and it's out in Union Grove, but it's considered a city, you will be a city employee.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Great. Thank you, Ms. Shadwick. Really appreciate your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Tiffany Gaumond. Ms. Gaumond.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm a little nervous, but Ms. Barnes, I really appreciate the comfortable vibe that you're giving. I also am nervous about only having 3 minutes because I have a lot to say, so cut me off if I go too long. I'm going to start with before my offense. I grew up in I had a really normal life. I grew up in Shorewood. When I was in high school, I did a sport. I got a job at 15. I graduated. I went straight to college. It wasn't until after college that I started experimenting with drugs. I'm a bit of a free spirit, and sometimes that used to take me down some unusual paths. So I was open-minded enough to try heroin, and I immediately became hooked and extremely hooked. So I have seen people in meetings that, talk about being addicted and having all these problems for 20 or 30 years. Mine lasted less than 2 years. I pretty much crashed and burned immediately. I went from a normal, middle class, well-supported person to a 100-pound, drug addict who didn't shower, didn't pay her bills. I lost everything. I basically sold everything that I could. And I reached a point one day where I was so desperate and I had nothing left and I had burned all my bridges. and I decided to try to kill myself. But I didn't have enough money to overdose. So I went and I stole money from a store that I had used to work for because I knew how the register worked. So I took that money. I bought enough drugs that I thought would overdose me, went to the beach, tried to kill myself. It didn't work. I woke up under the stars and I thought, okay, I tried dying. Apparently now I have to try living. So I knew the police were after me for stealing the money, and I went to the jail and I turned myself in, and they said, we don't have a warrant for you. And I said, I'm not leaving until you let me in. I spent 11 days in the Milwaukee County Jail, and it was an unbelievably horrible experience. But at the same time, it was one of the most valuable experiences of my life. I was so miserable. And, but, during that 11 days, I went all the way through detox, cold turkey. This was before Suboxone. And I thought, I am never doing that again. So I got 3 years of probation. Judge Mannion was very kind to me. Everyone was very kind to me. They seemed to understand that I wasn't like inherently a criminal. I just got so wrapped up in the drugs that I was willing to do pretty much anything. So my probation went really well. My agent was really nice. Since then, I've worked. I started attending AA. Eventually, I just sort of had a normal life again. I went to grad school. I became a counselor for mental health and for people with substance abuse problems. And I did some consulting at the Columbia County Jail when they had mental health crisis people. And honestly, being a felon kind of helped sometimes when I was counseling people, because they would come into my office and they'd go, my life is over, I'm a felon. And I would get to explain to them, I've had jobs where I get to handle money. I have purchased a house. I was a foster parent for 10 years with my husband, and we actually won the governor when it was Walker. We won the governor's award for best adoptive parents. Let me look at my notes here. Yeah, I've lived a really normal life since then. It has affected me a couple times in attempting to get jobs. There are certain things that I'm not allowed to do. And the most significant one now is that I would really like to be able to volunteer with my child's school. And schools don't allow you to participate in anything if you're a felon, and it makes me feel a little bit, that's the only time I feel humiliated by it. Most of the time it just doesn't even come up. But if I could get pardoned, I think that would mean that I could volunteer at my child's school. I also understand, though, that I don't really understand how many slots you guys can give to people. And so if there's a limited number of pardons that you're able to give, I would like them to go to people who maybe were less privileged than me. But, if you are able to pardon me, I would be very grateful.
Thank you, Ms. Gaumond. I just want to see if there are other questions from the board. Any questions? Reverend Hancock.
Are you still working for the Public Defender's Office?
I do work for the Public Defender's Office, and my experience with the criminal justice system and the substance abuse has given me an interesting perspective in that work.
Okay. And as you know, the governor will make the final decision, but the Milwaukee County DA's office reviewed your application, and they strongly support your application,
I saw that.
as does the Milwaukee County judge. How does that make you feel?
I mean, it warms my heart. It warms my heart. When I got that letter, it just made me feel great.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? All right, I think that covers it then. Thank you, Ms. Gaumond. Appreciate your time today, and I hope you enjoy your weekend.
Okay, thanks, you too.
Thank you. Next up, we have Bicari Carson. Mr. Carson, I believe I saw you in the Zoom. There we are.
Hello.
Hello.
You hear me? Okay. Hello. My name is Bicari Carson. My situation was around 2016. A few years prior to that, I had been shot. And from the Obamacare ending, and I was in the process of getting my new doctors and things like that. So I really walked, well, it's no justification for me not having my prescription right at the time. So the situation when I was arrested, I just so happened to go to my son's mother's family house, and they had a big barbecue, and the police had came, and I basically walked into it and had my pain pill in my pocket, and I also had my carry concealed license. So prior to that, I had no record, and I was able to get my carry concealed. So at that time, for that situation, I was sentenced to, I want to say 2.5 years of probation, or it might have been 2. And at the time, I had just first purchased my first property. So I believe if my probation was 2 years, I got off a year early, or if it was 1.5 years, I got off in 9 months. So my probation officer had referred for me to get off early because I was fixing my property up. As of now, I am a PCW worker, help out the patients that I have assigned to me. And as far as getting my record, my felon off my name, I'm the only felon in my family. My oldest daughter, she's on her way to college. And they were out there when the situation happened as far as my oldest daughter. So I just been showing them the right way. We're trying to lead the right way and get back on the right track. Actually, once I leave, because back then is when I got into the properties. So I told them they had to put it off, but at 10 o'clock, I have another meeting to go to the titling company to sell one of my properties today. So I'm just trying to keep everything in line, remain a positive influence and image on the family, not ruin the family's name, and just keep my head straight and keep everything in order.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. I just want to see if board members have questions for you. Judge Kremers?
Yeah, good morning, sir. As part of this process, and I don't think this come as a surprise, it shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. We look at people's social media presence.
Yes.
And you seem to have a lot of pictures on social media that strongly suggest or imply that you're smoking marijuana. Pictures.
Yes.
How would you respond to that?
Well, every now and then I do smoke, but I do smoke Black and Milds also.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your honesty. Thank you. That was my only question.
Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Carson. You may have heard me ask previous applicants this, but you didn't submit any letters of support either. Can you talk about that? Why not?
Really not off of hand, because it kind of slipped my mind. And when you got to asking the question, my grandfather's a pastor. I'm involved with the church. if, like you said, you go over my social media, I'm, very in tune with community, my family, my kids and stuff. But it kind of slipped my, it kind of slipped my mind. But when you said, I'm like, why didn't my butt think about getting, those? Because I do have family and people where I could have got those from.
Okay. I appreciate that. And I appreciate that, you have this one charge. You did get 18 months probation. You were discharged early, which doesn't happen to everyone, as you know. And you've discharged fully in 2018 and haven't had any further offenses. So I appreciate all the positive things that you've done. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Carson, when all this started, you told the police you were parked in front of your son's grandmother's house.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Do you remember what street that was on?
24th between, it's either Vine and Walnut or Lisbon and Vine or Walnut and Vine, because once you pass 20th or something, it changes from when you're going up Walnut. So it's either Lisbon and Walnut or Lisbon and Vine or Walnut and Vine on 24th place or street.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you very much for your time this morning, Mr. Carson. Appreciate it and hope you enjoy your weekend.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. All right, and our next applicant is Jason Little.
Hey, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Thank you. I'll just jump right into it. So my charges are they're both felonies. They're a check forgery, I believe 2004, and a failure to report to jail in 2005. It asks how my sentence went. Actually, it was a blessing because I remember, obviously I'd sent in my criminal records with my packet that I sent in to you, so I'm sure you've reviewed it. But I was in jail in Minnesota, and then they brought me to Pierce County, Wisconsin, and there was a probation officer there, and I don't know who it was. I wish I did know and could remember, because this guy changed my life for the better. He said, we were looking at prison time, but I'm just a little confused of like what's going on with you, because you haven't had a lot of issues with the law and stuff before. Now you've gotten, I can see multiple charges on you, like what's going on? And I broke down and told him it's from drug addiction. I was addicted to meth from 2002 to 2005. And after hearing that, he contacted the state of Minnesota and got me set up with a drug rehab place in Anoka, Minnesota. A couple of days later, I was held in jail there. He came back to me and he said, I couldn't imagine sending you to prison after hearing what you've told me. And I've got you a spot. And I mean, he did a lot of work, gave me a spot, a Rule 25 and stuff. He put a lot of effort into it. And matter of fact, when I was done, and I think they sent me to Pepin County to do, maybe it was like maybe 4 months in jail. He picked me up and he personally drove me to the rehab center in Anoka, Minnesota. And from that, I mean, my life was changed, and it has been ever since then. So like I said, I don't know if it's in the records or whatever, whoever that person was, that guy was, I mean, I owe so much to him. So that's how my sentence went. It was very positive, and it was life-changing for me. So after completing my sentence, I entered inpatient treatment, and then I graduated in 2006. it was like June 2006. Following treatment, rejoined the workforce and began working in residential construction. In 2010, or between 2008 and 2010, I went to Lake Superior College in Duluth, Minnesota, where I earned my associate's degree in civil engineering and continued building a steady career after I graduated with my diploma. In 2014, I married my wife, Samantha. She's a registered nurse, and we welcomed the first of our two daughters in 2015. In 2015 also, we purchased our first home together in Duluth, Minnesota. And that's where I began my career with Jamar, who I'm currently employed with as a roofing foreman. And I was promoted to a project manager in 2018. And then in 2020, I was promoted to a service operations manager. And in 2024, I was promoted to a field operations manager. And February of this month, I'm currently a field operations manager and roofing operations manager, who oversees multiple locations across multiple states. Outside of work, I coach my daughter's softball teams. I have two, one daughter's 10, the other 7. I volunteer alongside with my wife with 2 dog rescue organizations. I also, being in Duluth, Jamar is a specialty contractor. We have a lot of good, a lot of ties with the community. I created this little Operation Second Chance, I'd call it, at Jamar, where we work with Teen Challenge, Minnesota Teen Challenge in Duluth, and try to hire graduates coming in. They've kind of been filtered by the Minnesota Teen Challenge, and we might get like 2 or 3 like good candidates, try to place them or hire them on at Jamar. We have a lot of different opportunities at Jamar. Do they all work out? No, but really, we do have one that's been there for 3 years that had been in drug addiction, and he is currently employed with Jamar, and it really has changed his life around. And I'm really, there's two things for. Oh, and then also in 2021, through all this, I had my gun rights restored in 2021, and there's really 2 reasons why I'm looking for a pardon on this. Is because my work, and my company, working across the country, we work in a lot of prisons, military bases, oil refineries, airports, jails, and where I do have to get ran, background checks. And although I'm not going to say that it's like limited my career, but it does present its challenges. And even though it has, been 20 years since, the trouble with the law that I got into from 2002 to 2005, it's challenges that can be overcame. It makes it difficult, and the other reason I'm seeking a pardon is just as a way to close a difficult and regrettable chapter of my life. I take full responsibility for the mistakes I made, and I have worked hard over the past years to rebuild, redeem, and better myself. I believe deeply in second chances, not just in theory, but through my own lived experience. And in the way I now try to help others. I am no longer the person I once was, and this pardon would allow me to fully turn the page and continue moving forward with integrity and purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Questions from the board for Mr. Little? Judge Kremers.
Did I hear you say that your gun rights were restored?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you mean in Minnesota?
Yes, sir.
So I can't give you any legal advice, but that doesn't apply in Wisconsin.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in Wisconsin, you're still a convicted felon, which is why you're seeking this pardon, but that would also prevent you from having a firearm. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Little, you live in Minnesota, right?
That is correct.
Okay, that's what we have for your address. Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Thank you very much for your time today, Mr. Little. Appreciate it and hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Mr. Little was our last applicant of our first morning session. We are going to take a brief break so that we stay compliant with our open meetings notice. So our live stream will stay up. Board members will ask you to mute and turn your camera off if you're going to get a drink of water or something like that. But please be back here promptly at 10 and we'll get started with our second group of the morning. All right, we're just gonna give everyone a moment to make sure we've got folks in the Zoom and make sure we have all our board members back, and then we will get started with our second morning group. All right, I think we've got everyone. So good morning, everyone. My name is Mel Barnes. I am the Governor's Chief Legal Counsel and Chair of the Pardon Advisory Board. I'm going to introduce my fellow board members, run through just a couple of housekeeping notes, and then we will get started hearing from all of you. So fellow board members with me on the Zoom today, we have Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the Director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. We have Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is Attorney General Call's nominee to this board. He served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, including as chief judge for 7 years before retiring in 2018. And finally, we have board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as Deputy Secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a division administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. We are eager to hear from all of you this morning. Please just bear in mind today's hearing is being live streamed via Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. So we'll ask you to turn your camera off and keep yourself muted until it is your turn to be heard by the board so we can hear and focus on the person who is presenting. If you run into any IT issues, don't worry about it. Someone from the team will reach out to you and help you troubleshoot. If we need to come back to you because Zoom isn't cooperating when it's your turn, we will certainly do that. Otherwise, we will call folks up on the order listed in the agenda and open meetings notice. Each applicant will have about 5 minutes total with the board. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 of those 5 minutes speaking to the questions that you were sent in advance of today's hearing. As a reminder, that is to please provide us with a brief summary of the offense you're seeking a pardon for and how your sentence went. We're not here to retry the crime. You don't need to minimize your involvement. We just want to hear from you in your own words what happened. Second, to give us a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement and employment, where you're at now in your life, and how that's different from the time of your offense. And then finally, third, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. Once you spend about 3 minutes speaking to those items, we'll open it up and see if the board members have any other questions for you. Don't read too much into it either way. We spend a lot of time with your written materials before we get to these hearings, so sometimes everything that we need to know is covered there. But if folks do have questions, we want to make sure that we get to those and get clarity on anything we need to make a recommendation to the governor. Once the board is done asking you any questions they have, you're welcome to sign off and leave the Zoom hearing. Once everyone is heard, the board will then meet in closed session to decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor, who will make a final decision on whether or not to grant your application. You do need a majority support of board members present, though, for your application to be forwarded on to the governor. Either way, you'll learn about the outcome of today's hearing about a month to a month and a half from today. So we know you've been patient just to get to this point, but ask you to bear with us for a little bit longer while we're able to get that recommendation to the governor. So with that, we will go ahead and get started with our second morning group. Our first applicant is Daniel Olenichuk. Mr. Olenichuk.
Good morning. Good luck.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Dan Olenichuk. My offense was burglary. This happened back in 1982. At that time, I was young, stupid, sort of a wild kid, had some alcohol problems. I did deserve the 60 days in jail that I did get, and I was actually relieved when I was finally arrested. I felt really bad at what I had done. Being a Christian, that wasn't a Christian thing to do, but like I said, I had some pretty bad alcohol problems back at that age. And I turned myself into a drug and rehab center in Milwaukee, and I spent 30 days in there in a dry out center, and then proceeded to Forest County to go through my trial in 1984, where I automatically pled guilty to the charge. Since the completion of my sentence, I moved to Eagle River, Wisconsin, and got a job in the floor covering industry with Carter's Floor Specialist. After 5 years of working there, my wife that I met 4 years prior opened up our own flooring store and was very successful for 30 years. And I just sold the business to our employees last year, and they are still in the flooring business, but they go under Legacy Tile now. So I was looking forward to retirement, and after 4 days sitting in my recliner, I told my wife I'm going to die in this thing watching reruns of Gunsmoke. So I took out an ad in the paper to install. I do a lot of custom showers, which I still do to this very day. So that gets me out of the house because she does the gardening and everything. I'm not a gardening guy, but I worked with my hands all my life. I'm a Polish guy. I was born to work. So I continue with that. And also I was involved with Ducks Unlimited. Fishing Has No Boundaries up here. I just called Don and Penny at the Kalmar Senior Center to see if I can volunteer to help out with any needs that they may have. And they welcomed me with open arms. He says, "We don't get volunteers." I said, "Well, I'm going to help you out." Also, I went to school through my whole life being a Christian, and I go to Our Savior Lutheran Church up here and plan to get involved with them a little bit more. The more my body tells me to, it's time for you to quit. Because like I say, I'm going to be 70 this July 30th. And as far as me feeling that I should get a pardon, I feel I should get a pardon because I've completely turned my life around. We own our own home. I own properties. Our vehicles are all paid for. We have a nice retirement nest, so my wife and I can still travel. We love to travel, and we take our children with us at times. And like I say, I'm getting more involved with the church, and I truly believe that I am a good person. And you all know that you can't lie to yourself. And I sort of want to die with a clean slate. And I want people to say that this earth was a better place because of Dan. And a lot has changed in my life since this incident happened 42 years ago. And I truly do regret from what I did. It's an embarrassment to me. And it sort of stays with me and my sister and my other brother to this very day. Don't even talk to me because of what I did. God's forgiven me, but they haven't. But it's all right.
Thank you, Mr. Olenichuk. I just want to see if there are other questions for you from the board. Judge Kremers?
Yeah, I have a couple of areas I want to ask you about. In 2000, you were charged with possession of a firearm, but it was amended to endangering safety by use of a dangerous weapon. What was that situation?
Yes, sir. Not that I'm going to make an excuse of it, but I did not know that I could not own firearms. I had multiple. I gun hunted with quite a few friends up here. When I took the plea agreement in Forest County, I took 60 days instead of 90 days. They said it was 60 days for a misdemeanor, 90 days, or I'm sorry, 60 days for a felony, 90 days for a misdemeanor. And I was not informed what a felony was, and I went on through life. I mean, I hunted for years and years and years, and yes, I did get arrested for that, and I was just as much surprised because the officer that came in here, I duck hunted with, and he says, "Dan, you know why I'm here?" And I says, "Probably because I just crossed the road on my quad runner. I had my son on it." He goes, "No. I have to arrest you for possession of a firearm as a convicted felon. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't have you known this before? I was duck hunting with you. So somebody must have said something to someone.
And then on your application, you answered the question, question 7 that said, except for the crime listed above, the one you're asking a pardon for, have you had any other interactions with law enforcement? And you didn't put anything in there, but it looks like you had convictions for drunk driving or operating while under the influence in 94, 96, and 2004 for OWIs 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Why didn't you list those on your application?
I have no excuse for that, but I no longer drink. I'm sober because that was my downfall through my life. My childhood was hell, and once I turned 18, it was almost like it was a caged animal being let loose. I just went pretty much wild, and like I say, the alcohol was my downfall. And after that last one, and I believe you had mentioned 2004. Yeah, I haven't drank since.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Cindy?
Yeah. Good morning, sir. You may have heard me ask previous applicants this, but as part of the application process, people are encouraged to submit letters of support for their pardon application. You did not submit any letters. Can you tell us why not?
Oh, no, I could have got Steve Kressel from Ducks Unlimited to write me something, or Bill Campbell, the head of Fishing Has No Boundaries, as well as Don and Penny Waite from the Calamar Center, or my pastor, Pastor Peter Kufal. I don't know if it's too late to do that, but I can reach out to these individuals, and I'm sure that they'll write me a favorable recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, it's helpful for the board to have that with your application when it's submitted, so we can review those materials ahead of time. And it's just helpful for us to see what the
Yeah, no, I understand.
is. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Reverend Hancock.
Just to put some context in this, 43 years ago, when this happened, you were 27 years old, and you were an Air Force veteran at that time?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And what you were convicted of was entering a residence and stealing 2 fishing poles. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just wanted to be sure I understood the basic facts that are before us. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Right. Thank you, Mr. Olenichuk. Appreciate your time today and hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Hey, y'all have a great day.
Thank you. Next up, we have Joseph Connley. Mr. Connley. Mr. Connley, if you're with us in the Zoom, will you unmute, please? Okay. We've got a couple phones, but I don't see Mr. Connley, so we will come back to him if he is here later. And in the meantime, we'll move on to John Skindor. Oh,
I'm here.
Is that you, Mr. Connley?
Yes, this is me.
All right. We can hear you now. We aren't able to see you. Can you turn your camera on?
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, here we are. Sorry about that.
That's okay. We'll turn it over to you.
All right. Good morning. I am Joseph Connley, and I would like to thank the Pardon Advisory Board for your time this morning. 41 years ago, in 1984, I was 23 years old. On April 20th and July 5th that year, I sold 1 to 1.5 grams of marijuana to an undercover police officer. I was arrested and sentenced to 3 months in the Brown County Jail with good behavior, 18 months probation, and $1,500 restitution. At the time of my arrest, I was attending trade school and WTC. I obtained a certificate for machinist. While I was incarcerated, we had one daughter under the age of 1, and my wife was pregnant. That's when I really realized I made a big mistake, and I will never get that time back. I started working at the Green Bay Drop Forge on July 24th, 1984. They tried to fire me, but my wife helped me by calling Wisconsin Department of Human Relations. They helped me to keep my job, and I was able to obtain Huber privileges with work release. I completed my sentence and probation without incident. Since my sentence, I have been married 42 years. We have 4 children, 2 sons, 2 daughters, and 9 grandchildren, with the 10th due in July. I worked at the Green Bay Drop Forge and Machining Company for 39 years. I held several different positions there: production, setup, maintenance, tool crib manager, purchasing for the tooling department. I retired in 2020 due to physical disabilities, back fusion, multiple knee surgeries, a valve replacement, and I am currently on SS disability. I served as the secretary and treasurer of our local union, United Steelworkers, for 28 years. I worked 2 jobs for 3 years to help supplement our income. During the time, I was working 45 to 60 hours per week. My wife was a CNA and went back to school to become an RN. We struggled, we worked hard, built our life, our family together. We even worked opposite shifts to avoid daycare costs. We purchased our first home in 1989 on 12th Avenue in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I served on the athletic committee at St. Joe's Parish to raise funds for our school and the church for 4 to 5 years. I coached Little League, Co-Care Little League baseball at local parks for low-income families for 3 years. I also coached Babe Ruth baseball for 2 years. 3 years ago, we built a home near Crivets, sold our home in Green Bay. We belong to St. Mary's Parish in Crivets since we moved here. In 2000, I applied for a pardon and was denied due to lack of preparation. I retained a lawyer, but he wasn't much help. He did not show up for my hearing. Now it's been 41 years since my crime. I have maintained a clean record. I would like to travel outside of the country, especially my wife is retiring next year. Our sons have expressed an interest in going to Canada fishing, which would create great memories with their dad. Obtaining a pardon would be a huge relief, a weight off my shoulders. It would enable me to do more with my family. And I would like to thank all of you for the time and consideration of this request.
Thank you, Mr. Connley. Questions from the board? All right. Thank you.
Wait.
I'm sorry, Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Connley, did I hear you right that you started working at the Drop Forge when you were on Huber?
Yes, I actually wasn't convicted yet. I got the job prior to my arrest.
Okay, and you were working there while you were in jail on Huber, is that correct?
Yes.
And you kept working there for 39 more years.
Yep, changed my life.
Okay, and there was a very interesting letter from one of the management at the Drop Forge that said it was good to work with you as a union leader, that he was able to, between the two of you, you were able to often work things out. How was that for you?
It's really honorable, and I tell you, it makes me want to cry. I really put a lot of my life into that job, and it turned my life around. I think this was the best. Not that I did a crime, but it really changed my life for the better. I mean, that guy, it's all family-oriented business. It was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Connley. Really appreciate your time with the board today, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend as well.
You also. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have John Skindor. Mr. Skindor.
Hello.
Hello, we're able to hear you. We can't see you quite yet.
You can see me. Now can
There
you
we
see
are.
me? Hello. My name is John Skindor. I did a burglary in 1987. Convicted of a felony. I broke into a liquor store me and my buddy were in Nina at a bar. And we're young, 18 years old, and we're coming back from a bar at 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning, and we're pretty much drunk, stupid, and we seen discount liquor, and we thought, well, maybe we can get some more beer. We're a little thirsty yet. Well, we kind of did that. We went through the window and went inside, grabbed some beer, some cigarettes, and some booze, and didn't think nothing of it at that time. After we heard the alarm or something that went off or something, so we grabbed a cart and put all that stuff into a cart, ran down the road, and we stashed it into the tracks or some building or something it was, and then we ran, and then we got stopped by an officer down the road, and I don't know how it was asked or how it was all done, but I do believe we were released, and I think we got sent home, and then the next day went back and tried to get the stuff, and we got caught. I'm not sure if that was me involved the next day to get that, but I remember an officer coming to my house, arrested me about this burglary, and my mom was not happy. I was not happy. I was scared. I was stupid. I was young. So after all that, I got 9 months in jail in the Winnebago County Jail. Sat in there for 9 months. I got out on Huber Law. I worked at Midcon Products. I'm pretty sure it was Midcon Products. I went to AA meetings after my jail sentence for 2 years. And I stayed with my job. And then after that, I went to a plastering job. And then I volunteered to clean up around buildings and highways for the community, for the sentence. And then after I got out of jail, I worked, and then I went into plastering. And then I worked plastering for a couple of years, and then I went on my own. And then I went on my own in 1990 or 91, Bears Rocket and Plastering. And I did that to 2016. Then I was going to get out of it, going to truck driving, because a couple of my contractors went down, and wood prices and everything else went up in high prices. So I was going to get out of it, but my buddy, Promer Drywall, called me and see if I wanted to do some plastering. So I said yes. So at this present right now, I'm still plastering. But for the felony, I really regret what I did. I was stupid. I still regret it to this day, because I had a daughter 22 years ago, and that was very important to my life. And that's my life. I don't drink anymore. I quit drinking 3 years ago.
No, not.
Well, quite a while ago. And I want her to understand what's the rights are for voting out there, and I can't do that. Very embarrassing when she asked me that. Let's go vote, Dad. It's so heartbreaking that I can't. And she understands, but I don't. My life got so much better now. My daughter's with me. It was stupid what I did. I was young, stupid. I had a very rough life. My dad passed away when I was 6 years old. Alcohol was in our house all the time. And I started a young age of drinking. My life is so much better now. I have a wonderful lady that's in my life. I met her. This lady was in my life in high school. We dated, our first love together. We separated 35 years later. We're back together again. And I haven't been much happier in my life. And back to my daughter again. How do I want to say this? She wants me to have my rights so I can go out and vote and everything else that's going on out there, and take her to Canada, which I can't go to Canada. I never knew that until I found out a few years ago, because I want to take her to Niagara Falls and I can't do that. And I'm so much happier with my life right now.
Thank you, Mr. Skindor. I do want to open up to questions from the board, but before we get to that, I want to touch on something that you mentioned a couple of times about voting. And I just want you and anyone else watching on Wisconsin Eye or on YouTube to know that generally in Wisconsin, once you've completed your sentence, whether that's being incarcerated and being off paper, you finished your probation or parole, you are generally eligible to vote in the state. So I would encourage you to look into that, regardless of the outcome of today's hearing. So I wanted to touch on that, but let's see if we have other questions from the board.
Okay.
Judge Kremers.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
In your application, you say, and answering question 11, you say, since the felony conviction in 1987 to 88, when I was 19, 20 years old, I've been in trouble only once in 2007. And then you talk about this accident you had where you flipped your car and you were driving drunk.
Yes, that was another one.
Okay, and you say that's the only time you've been in trouble since this 1987 case. But according to the records we have in front of us, it looks like you were convicted of domestic violence charges on 5 different occasions, twice in 89, once in 90, once in 91, and once in 98.
That's the only thing I can think of. That was with my first wife.
Yeah, but those were 5 convictions. You didn't put that in your application. Why not?
I couldn't find them on the records. That's like with my first OWI, we could not find them on the records.
But you remember that, you remember these happened.
No.
You don't remember getting convicted 5 times?
No, I don't. I remember twice, maybe. That's about it.
Okay.
And that'd be one with the wife. But that was for disorderly conduct.
Well, one was a disorderly conduct, one was a couple of batteries. There's still domestic violence related charges.
Yeah, I not that I can recall.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I don't remember.
Sorry, I was muted. Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Skindor. You may have heard me ask previous applicants this, but as part of the application process, people are encouraged to submit letters of support from friends, neighbors, employers to support their application, and you didn't submit any. Can you tell us why not?
That I didn't find anything on that. I must have missed it.
Well, there's a section in the application process, and then there's a checklist at the end of the application process to confirm you've hit all the places. So you would have twice encountered that in the application. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Okay.
I just been so busy, and we're so busy right now that we gotta move because our landlord passed away. So we are looking for a house to buy or rent, and we're just lost.
So in the application, just so you know, number 19 is attached letters of recommendation, optional but strongly encouraged. It's number 19 on the application process, but thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? All right, thank you, Mr. Skindor. Appreciate your time today, and hope that you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please do talk to your local clerk and inquire about your ability to vote, because I would hate for you to miss out on that either way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Desmond Graves. Mr. Graves.
Yep. How you doing?
Great.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay. As far as the offense goes, I went to a gun store to buy a gun. They gave me the gun. I then went to CC classes. I passed the CC classes. I turned my paperwork in, and they sent me a letter that said that I was a felon. So I took the paper down to I think it was the 5th district in Milwaukee to see, what was going on. And the officer started like running the paper and all that stuff, and he couldn't find anything. So we talked for a second, and then he kept like insisting that he was trying to find something on me. So after he didn't find something on me, he gave me the paper back. I left. Maybe like, I want to say a month after that, I got a call from an what they call him, ATF agent. And he was like, I need to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. So we talked for a second. We made an agreement to meet up. We talked about the gun. I turned the gun into him. From that point, I think it was a detective, a Milwaukee detective, and him. He said, like, he understood what I told him. He was like, okay, I'm going to let Milwaukee blah, blah, blah deal with this. He said, because as far as I'm concerned, we're okay. I got the gun. I got all the questions answered, blah, blah, blah. So from that point, maybe a year passed. I got a letter from downtown about a preliminary hearing. So I showed up there, ended up going through this. So after all of that, I got a stage sentence. So I ended up doing my stage sentence. After that, I graduated. I went to school and graduated. After I graduated, I ended up cutting hair like in a couple different places. Like I did Racine, I did Milwaukee. Then I ended up opening up my own shop. So from that point to now, I'm still doing my barbering. So I have my own business. As far as let me see, what was the other question? As far as the pardon is concerned, I feel I should get a pardon for the simple fact that in the first place, I really shouldn't have been going through this stuff. I understand, it was me and my decisions. So at this point to forward is a change. So I'm feeling like, okay, I should be able to move forward and fully be able to do the things I need to do in society to go, where I need to go to the next level or whatever. But that's why I feel I should have a pardon.
Sorry, failed to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Graves, Governor Evers will make the final decision, but the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office reviewed your application and they support your getting a pardon. How does that make you feel?
Great.
Good. Thanks.
Any other questions for Mr. Graves? All right, I think that covers it then. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Mr. Graves, and hope you enjoy your weekend.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Tony Moore. Mr. Moore.
Can you see me?
We can. Oh, we could for a second. There you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this experience. My crime started back in 1992. I had got put in jail for retail theft, misdemeanor. But when I had got Huber Law and I escaped while on Huber Law. I didn't go back, and I finally went back, and they charged me with the escape. And Judge Fisher gave me the 12-month sentence, which I completed and got out. And then years later, under the influence still of drugs that was untreated, I got another retail theft and went to prison for 3 years. Got out of prison, was out 45 days, living in a rooming house, and caught a new charges plus my revocation. And Judge Wilkes of Kenosha, when he was living, gave me 4 years ran concurrent with my new charges. And his conversation was, at that point, my daughter had walked into the prison with my sister, and my daughter at 12 years old asked me how come I couldn't take care of her. And I couldn't answer her. I gave her a pitiful, I'm sorry, I'm sorry I let you down. And I had made up my mind. 35 years old, broken, just battered from the life that I had lived from 15 years old all the way into 35. So made up my mind that I was done. I still had to face the time that I was doing. So while in prison, I just said I was done. I was finished. I was going to find a way to get my life turned around. And after that little girl asked her dad, how come I couldn't teach her to be a branch and I'd be the tree? I just made up my mind and just said, you know what? I got to find a way to get it done. I got to find a way to redeem my life, get my life back on track. And after I did the time from Judge Wilkes, and I'm at RCI, I get a grant. They let me go. Kenosha County was down there to pick me up for the charges I was still facing. So they sent me back to Dodge. I went back to Dodge, had to spend another month or two in Dodge. Dodge sent me to Thompson's minimum camp. At the minimum camp, Jerry Smith gives me a 12-month defer, which got overwritten by John Huss. For me, all the reason why I'm saying this is it was all spiritual for me. Every single aspect of my last incarceration was a spiritual journey for me. And after John Huss gave me the grant, and I still went home in a year's time on facing 40 years, I went home. And when I got home, I understood that in 1996, 95, when I got home November 22nd, for the first time in my life ever getting out of prison or jail, I went to a meeting. And from that meeting to now, to today's date, I still go to meetings. 30 years later, I was able to accomplish, I got 3 degrees, opened 3 clinics, Then met the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States. I met all the political parties, representatives. Had Paul Ryan come to the office asking how come I can do treatment so well and how come I'm having such an effect on treatment people. And got a chance to meet Judge Zevers. Just in all the people I have met over the course of these last 30 years to redeem my life back to some place of normalcy. I sit on three or four different boards. I sit on church board. I sit on the Kenosha County Community Center board. I sit on the Boys and Girls board. Just people have asked me for my input to help people who are underserved or underprivileged or going through hard situations in life. My opening of clinics in Racine County, Kenosha County, and Elkhorn, I was told that an ex-offender couldn't do it. And I just didn't believe it. I believe that if people are afforded a second chance, people would see what I was doing and would say, okay, show us how you're going to do it. I learned business. I learned the business plans. I went back and just did everything inspired by that little girl's conversation of how come you can't take care of me, Daddy? Well, in her conversation, I found out that if I took care of me first, I would never have to worry about taking care of her because I automatically would do it. And once I started taking care of me, I was having understanding of my self-care. Everything else became easier. I got married, own a home, own businesses. The life that I live now is just more productive. Like when you're in jail, you're always writing the letters. You always say, I want to be a productive member of society. That's one of our major scripts in prison. But when you actually do it, the uncomfortable feeling of change that comes with being a productive member of society, following the rules, doing everything that you need to do to be the person you need to be, for me, it became infectious. And I just wanted to be the best version of myself every single day that I'm living now. Because I know people are watching me and I'm showing the example of hope. This is what the hope is. I come from a sordid background of, man, you can't change your life, but yes, you can. If you stay consistent, disciplined, and focused on what it is that you need to do. And I wrote books. I wrote eight books. I got devotional books and I got workbooks that I use in the prisons. I currently work and run groups in the prison that I did time in, the Living Free program, the Kenosha County Detention Center. I was in there in one of the first groups back in 1995. Now I have staff that runs the program with me, along with other agencies in our community. We're probably one of the only treatment per se programs that offer Kenosha County. Maybe I think Portage and Columbia have a county jail that offers some treatment stuff too, but it's so beneficial to get treatment at the county jail level before people get off to prison or get into worse situations. But the reason why I really would love to get a partner, there's positions I have gotten all kind of awards for everything you can name, from NAACP to the governor's office for business. I worked at Gateway College. I got awards from community agencies on everything from change to, influential individual. But the reason why the pardon would be beneficial is that if I decide to go to the next step as an alderperson or someone in the community that needed to be voted in, then I could make that adjustment and be able to do that and still demonstrate to the recovering community, mental health community, that it's possible. It's really possible if you really stay focused and change your life.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. I just want to see if board members have any other questions for you. Reverend Hancock.
Ms. Moore, Your last 30 years have been pretty remarkable, and you have great letters of support from people in your community. In 1974, you went to Wales.
Yes.
When you were 15 years old.
Yes.
And you were in constant legal trouble for the next 20 years.
Yes.
So can you briefly say what turned your life around?
First, I would have to say, I have to give all glory to God that turned my life around, because I understood that. I understood deeper. But when you get tired emotionally of sinning. I did. And I lost my mom, I lost my dad, and just all the heartbreak that was going on with living life on life terms was just was tough. And out of me, that's where the books come. It was just tough doing drugs to try to get by and mask feelings. And when you got to face those feelings on your own, for me, I couldn't find no other way but God. God had to come deliver me. He had to give me the understanding of it was all right. It was my testimony. Now those 20 years are my testimony of overcoming any adversity that a man could go through. You can overcome it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions for Mr. Moore? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Moore. Appreciate your time with the board this morning and your time preparing the application. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you much. Thank you, guys. God bless.
Thank you. Next up, we have Timothy Olsen. Mr. Olsen? Okay, Mr. Olsen, if you are joining us by phone, please unmute and say something. All right, I don't see Mr. Olsen, so we will come back to him if he shows up. And in the meantime, we will move on to Adam Vandenberg.
Mute.
We can hear you.
Okay,
there you are.
There we go. Hello. I want to say good morning and thanks for your time taken this morning to meet with me and hear me talk. I will start with what I'm looking for a pardon for. I'm seeking a pardon for 2 felonies that I was convicted of back in 2003. I was only 17 years old at the time and I was charged as an adult. The first one was a burglary in Outagamie County, and then 6 months later I was charged with the felony for robbery with use of force. During this time, I was running with kind of hanging out with a bad crowd, and I was an outcast in high school. And that kind of led me down a path of, like getting in trouble and hanging out with the wrong people. I entered some garages in Little Chute, Wisconsin, and stole some beer and some other things and was going to pawn them off for money. And then the robbery, I was just with a group of friends that was not my friends at the time, or they were my friends at the time, but no longer are. I have not had contact with any of these people since these crimes, and my life has changed completely since then. I have a good work history, and over the last 23 years, I've been off, well, the crimes were 23 years ago, and I've been off probation now for 17 years. Since then, I've traveled a lot. I've lived in 4 or 5 different states. I went to college and graduated with a wood manufacturing degree from the Fox Valley Tech in Oshkosh here. And I've been working in cabinet shops for the last 15 years since I graduated. And within the last 5 years, I went and got my CDL. So now I'm a truck driver. So I drive for Alro Steel in Oshkosh now and make deliveries locally in Wisconsin. And since then, my life has did a 180 and I do not get in trouble anymore. I did get a couple OWIs when I was on probation. My second one was in 2008. But since that second OWI, I have not had any criminal activity. since then, and I completed all of my probation time, and I took plea agreements on both of the cases, and a lot of the other stuff was read in. And I did 4 months in jail for each one for a total of 8 months. And the reason I'm seeking a pardon is because I do travel a lot. I like to spend time camping in the backcountry. I would like my Second Amendment rights returned to me, and I would like to get into hunting, and I have family members that like to hunt and enjoy hunting, so I would like to be able to do that again. And also, seeing how I travel a lot, I'd like to be able to rent Airbnbs. I am not allowed to rent Airbnbs being a felon. They don't allow Airbnb rentals to felons. So them are the main reasons I'm seeking a pardon for. During the same time, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. And Graves' disease can cause hormonal imbalances. And I've been medicated since then, and have not had any issues. I have good letters of recommendation. I got a letter of recommendation from one of the victims that I burglarized at the time when I was 17 years old. And I hope you take the letters into consideration and, you know, take my pardon into consideration as well.
Thank you, Mr. Vandenberg. Questions from the board? Judge Kremers.
I was struck by something in your application, sir, when you described the January 2003 crime where you entered the garages.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you never entered anyone's living space. I would never have done that.
Well, which, so what I meant to say.
Let me just pose my question. Okay. You can answer. So that struck me as, okay, here's a guy who, you know, he's going to commit a crime. He's willing to commit a crime, but he doesn't want to get too personally involved with the victim. So that's, you know, that's, I guess, in the hierarchy of criminal thinking, that's a good thing, right? But then your next crime, in 2000, same year, 2003, that involved sort of, you know, a much more involved with the victim. There was a beating, striking of the victim. And I know you say that you weren't the one hitting the victim, but you were there and part of it. So how do I square those two statements? And
so the second one that happened, I was, like I said, I was with the wrong group of people. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And we got this idea to wait outside a bar for somebody, and it was dumb, and I should have never did that, and I should have just walked away from that group of people at the time. The first crime I was alone and I acted by myself, so I think the second time I was maybe influenced by, you know, the people that I was with. And, you know, like being young like that, I guess your friends can have a big influence over your thoughts and what you should do. So I made the wrong choice on that one.
All right. Thank you.
Other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Vandenberg. Appreciate your time today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'll do another call for Mr. Olsen, Timothy Olsen. Okay, I don't see that he's joined us. So we will go ahead and move on to Courtney Crawford. Mr. Crawford, I just want to let you know I do have the notes that you provided along with the hearing, or that your attorney passed on. So I'm happy to turn to those and walk through those topics if you'd like. Otherwise, I will turn it over to you to make whatever statement you're comfortable with.
Okay. I don't really got too much to say. I ain't been in trouble since 2004, so I mean, I really ain't got too much to say.
Okay, so Mr. Crawford, I have in the notes that you provided us for today's hearing that you were convicted of felony bail jumping in 2005 because you missed a court date for a 2004 case where you were convicted of misdemeanor possession of cocaine, THC, and obstructing an officer. Is there anything that you want to add to what happened to your description of this offense. Okay. And then why you're seeking a pardon, I have that you worked with DVR and the Ticket to Work program, but what they've tried to help you with isn't possible without a pardon. Jobs like selling life insurance, selling trailers, and that you'd like to get a CDL. You noted that a pardon would bring hope to you, but also your whole community, and it would show the young people that you can turn things around, and it will bring you opportunities.
Right.
Is there anything that you'd like to add to the reasons that you're seeking a pardon?
Really.
Okay. And then I also have notes on why you think you're deserving of a pardon, which is the district attorney's support, sobriety, and that you dedicate your life to taking care of your 8 children who are ages 2 to 26, and that the 2 and 20-year-olds have autism, that you helped your 2-year-old autistic son do speech therapy, early Head Start, ABA therapy through Caravel, and birth to 3 services, and that your 20-year-old does community-based therapy. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to that?
Well, like if they put me on the Head Start board, it'd be kind of awkward with a felony. And they've been trying, so I just push back on that one.
Got it. Okay. And unless you have anything else that you want to add, I'll open it up to other questions from the board. Okay. Board members, questions for Mr. Crawford? Done? Okay. I think that covers it then. Thank you very much for your time today, Mr. Crawford. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Eric Stark. Mr. Stark, we're ready to hear from you.
Oh no, now it's saying, good morning. It's saying that the camera's not working. It says unable to detect the camera when I try to turn it on. Is that okay?
Yeah, we can proceed without the camera if we can't get it working. But I would suggest if it's a web camera, try just unplugging it and replugging it back in. Seems like that does the trick most of the time.
It's on my laptop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it happens from time to time in my classes that I run.
Got it. Well, we're okay proceeding with just audio if that's all right with you.
Sure. Okay, so good morning. Excuse me. In 2002, I was convicted of driving without consent. For that, I received 2 years probation, and I believe it did 3 months in HOC time served. During that time, I was 21 and honestly just completely clueless about life, to be honest. I was just beginning my drug addiction, and I didn't really grasp the impact that my actions would have on my future. I ended up being discharged from that probation. In 2012, I was convicted of another driving without consent and felony bail jumping along with retail thefts. For that, I ended up receiving 9 months. And these cases were in the grips of that drug addiction. It had just continuously happened throughout my pretty much my adult life. During that time, I was able to get into drug treatment court for the first time. I was not ready to change at that time. I ended up getting my agreement revoked. I ended up getting out of jail and going back to the drug use. And as I was writing that, I did prepare this as a statement. I just wanted to be clear that I do recognize that my actions during that time hurt people and that I was taking from society instead of giving. I was a fairly dangerous person to have in society. It's just that I'm pretty far removed from that behavior today. So it's hard for me to remember the person that I was. I just didn't want to seem like I was just playing it off as being young and dumb because I do take responsibility for my actions during those times. Which leads into, since completion of those sentences, in 2017, I had more retail thefts. This time it was for multiple retail thefts, a repeat offender. At that time, I was blessed with another chance at drug treatment court, this time with the Honorable Judge Carl Ashley, who honestly changed my life. Sorry, I get emotional when I think about him. The fact that this change that happened with me came from a judge of all people. It's always, excuse me, sorry. It's always amazed me. And I'll always be grateful for that man. Sorry. Whew. Give me one
All right,
second.
Mr. Stark, take your time. If you need a deep breath or a drink of water, that's just fine.
I was able to stop using any and all drugs from that time. And since then, I haven't looked back. I was a member of Narcotics Anonymous for years afterwards. I ended up gaining employment at Justice Point, which is where I was, that's my pretrial supervision place that I had for 8 years. I gained employment there as a peer support specialist. I'm still employed there, only now I'm a cognitive behavioral specialist, which means I run cognitive-based classes designed to combat criminal thinking and teach people how to make better decisions in their lives. For lack of better definition, I teach people how to stay out of jail. This type of programming was what I was meant for, and I'm good at it. I love it with my whole heart, and it's everything to me. The fact that I get to give back what was given to me, it just means like the entire world. Sorry, I'm getting really bad. I have also gotten married since, and now I own a home with my wife and our kids, who I'm able to be a real father and role for. God, sorry, this is not usual for me.
It's okay, Mr. Stark. Totally fine to get emotional. We understand.
I believe that I should receive a pardon because this time I've truly changed. I've been a felon for 23 years. I can't remember what it's like to not be a felon, to be honest. But I do know that my past doesn't define me. I know that I'm no longer Eric the criminal. I'm no longer Eric the drug addict. I've done the necessary work that it takes to become a productive and positive member of society. I'm so much on the other side of the fence with all this that like I now work for the same pretrial supervision company that I was with for my entire addiction. I've made my entire life about helping people that are struggling with the same things that I struggle with for years. I believe with my entire being that I have a 0% probability of ever using a drug again, let alone committing another crime. I believe that receiving this pardon shows the clients that I work with that this could be available for them too, if they're just willing to listen and to put in the work like I have. In conclusion, I believe I should receive a pardon because I have proven that I've changed. I've shown that change for almost a decade, and I continue to improve my life and the lives of others nearly every day. I also just wanted to thank you for the opportunity. Even if this doesn't happen, I can say that I got this close, and I just feel like not many people get this chance. If I got emotional during this, it's due to the overwhelming gratitude I have at this opportunity. My entire life today is something I never thought I would get to experience, to be honest. And that definitely includes today.
Thank you, Mr. Stark. Questions from the board? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Stark, your relationship with drugs was so debilitating. How do you maintain your sobriety? How do you maintain your personal staying clean?
It really boils down to, I believe, having a sense of purpose in my life. That's what I was lacking the entire time, and I wasn't aware of that What we know about addiction in the addiction world is that it's not the drugs. It's just the most obvious symptom that there's a problem going on. So it's having that purpose, and my purpose was to help other people, and this job, it definitely gives that to me. Having my children and my wife and being able to be there for them like this definitely gives that to me. And I've created strength through that.
Do you attend any NA groups or anything anymore?
Not anymore. I haven't done that in quite some time. I'm more into like the cognitive behavioral therapy. It's more up my alley. It's makes sense to me in my brain better.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Cremers.
Yeah. Congratulations on your recovery and your working with Justice Point, which I'm obviously very familiar with in Milwaukee. But my question is, you have, this all occurred in 2000, your last one was 2011, but then since then, it looks like you've been arrested a couple of times for retail theft in 2015, 2016. You weren't convicted of those, or at least I don't have information as to disposition of those, but what happened with those?
So that was when I got to be able to get into drug court for the second time. Because those were, none of those were the felonies. This was the misdemeanor retail thefts.
Right.
And this is when I was actually able to change everything.
Okay, so you got into drug court when?
In 2017.
Okay. And how long were you in drug court?
1 year.
And was Judge Ashley the drug court judge then?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then what happened to those? You successfully completed the drug court program. Were those charges then dismissed?
I believe so. They're no longer on CCAP. I think that they just get, I don't know if they get like, you're just no longer convicted, but I know they get expunged.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Usually that's what happened, but not always. So that's why I was asking. All right. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Stark? All right. Thank you, Mr. Stark. Really appreciate your time today, and I hope you have an enjoyable weekend.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Ashley Opperman. Dr. Opperman.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. First, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to review my application and listen to me today. I wrote the statement in advance of the hearing. I hope that that's okay. I am in front of you today with great humility and remorse to address my past legal history. Over a decade ago, during a time of extreme hardship, of homelessness, and struggling to make ends meet, I made decisions that led to misdemeanor and later a felony conviction that are both listed on my paperwork for my pardon application. Both of these have since been expunged, and today I am in front of you asking for the pardon of my felony conviction. While it is deeply painful to reflect on this chapter of my life, I recognize the importance of full transparency as I seek to move forward in my life. At the time of these offenses, my life was in turmoil. My stepfather had been abusive and an alcoholic throughout my childhood, and his eventual incarceration left my mother, my sister, and me in dire financial and emotional state. We became homeless, struggling to find shelter and meet even our most basic needs. I was young, scared, and vulnerable to the advice of my mother, whom I trusted. In this time, I became involved in activities that I deeply regret. Although my mother is not to blame for the actions that I performed, I do feel that as a mother, you provide a blueprint and a role model for your children. And in this aspect, I did not have a trustworthy blueprint for life or a good role model. To be fully transparent on my previous convictions before the felony, especially since my first conviction ended up causing a modifier to my felony conviction, I am adding a brief amount of information for my misdemeanor. The first conviction, a misdemeanor, occurred when I was 18 years old and involved cashing checks at a bank with the advice of my mother due to the financial situation that we were in. I followed her advice and did not fully think through the effects, consequences, or repercussions of my actions. These checks later came back due to insufficient funds, and I faced the repercussions of my actions. I was young and impressionable, believing that this was a way for us to survive and make ends meet. Though I did not fully understand the consequences at the time, I have taken full responsibility for my role in the offense by successfully completing all of the court-ordered penalties, including paying the full restitution that allowed for the conviction to be expunged. Sadly, the expungement did not happen automatically as I thought it would happen, but I later revisited the expungement by having an attorney help file a motion, which was approved. My felony conviction happened a few years later and was an even more painful turning point in my life. My mother, my younger sister, and I were evicted from our residence, leaving us homeless again and struggling to find shelter. In an attempt to help, I rented a U-Haul truck to use in order to move the belongings from the property involved in the eviction. Unfortunately, with this homelessness, there was nowhere to unload the items, and the truck was not returned within the agreed rental period. I deeply regret that this situation caused a financial loss for the business, as they were unable to rent the vehicle to others, and they did not receive timely payment for its extended use until I paid the restitution. Looking back, I now recognize with maturity and sound judgment that I should return the U-Haul immediately, regardless of the difficult circumstances. I truly regret my choices and involvement in this situation, and I take full accountability for my choices and the impact that they had. The conviction was a wake-up call for me, and I immediately fully severed ties with my mother, recognizing that I needed to break free from this cycle that I had been trapped in. I fulfilled all the legal obligations, including the 18 months of probation and full restitution to the U-Haul company. I have had no further legal issues since. With my probation, I successfully completed all requests and obligations associated, and my probation officer wrote a nice letter to the judge for the expungement of the conviction, which was approved. These experiences were painful lessons, but ultimately shaped me into the person I am today. I realized that I needed to take control of my own life, make decisions that would lead to a positive future, such as finally being able to attend college, which had been put on hold while living with my mother and struggling to make ends meet. Since severing ties with my mother and completing the required sentencing associated with my conviction, I've worked tirelessly to rebuild my life. I've either worked full-time or part-time, depending on the credit hours associated with college, or focused on my studies as a student. I took winter and summer courses so that I could complete my bachelor's degree in an efficient manner and had stability that I never had as I grew up. I earned my bachelor's degree at UW Parkside for molecular biology and bioinformatics with honors, applied to veterinary school and graduate school, where I ended up choosing to go to graduate school at the Medical College of Wisconsin. But I quickly realized that although I enjoyed the research associated with graduate school, my heart was truly in veterinary medicine. I then went to work full-time at a veterinary clinic, applied to UW-Madison vet school, and was accepted. I have now completed vet school with my graduation ceremony actually later today, and official graduation date being this Sunday. During my time at the veterinary school, I have taken on many leadership roles and have had a positive impact on others at the School of Veterinary Medicine, demonstrating my commitment to my profession and my future. I've previously volunteered through multiple organizations, such as the Hooved Animal Humane Society, Feed My Starving Child, and then through my daughter's school and through the veterinary school. Most importantly, I am a mother to a wonderful 5-year-old with another child on the way due October of this year. Every decision I make is guided by my commitment to be a role model for my children and ensuring they have the stability and security that I lacked growing up. Sorry. I'm asking for this pardon today because I'm finishing vet school, and having a pardon will help me as I obtain my professional veterinary license. I also would like the possibility in the future to become a professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison as I strive to become a board-certified veterinary anesthesiologist. In addition, this pardon is an important step for me as I continue to demonstrate my commitment, personal growth, responsibility, and being a protective member of society. I've worked incredibly hard to overcome my past, and I hope that my growth, determination, dedication to this profession will be considered in your review. I'm deeply remorseful for my past mistakes, and I sincerely hope for the opportunity to move forward. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sorry for the lengthy statement.
Thank you very much. Questions from the board? Reverend Hancock.
Did I understand that you're graduating today?
Yeah.
Oh, well, congratulations. We shouldn't keep you too long.
Thank you.
Cindy.
I just have one comment. You know, we see a lot of applicants and understandably, they're focused on their role and what they've done since then. But in your application and again today, you took time to recognize the impact on that business. And so, you know, that's just so important to us to have people understand the victim impact of these crimes, and for you to understand it and raise it in both your written application and today. I just really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you, Dr. Opperman. Congratulations again on your graduation, and we'll certainly let you get to those festivities.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I want to do one more call for Timothy Olsen. Mr. Olsen, if you're with us in the Zoom, please speak up now. Okay, looks like we do not have Mr. Olsen. So at this point, oh, Mr. Olsen?
Yeah, kind of figured it out.
Oh, well, your timing is excellent. Okay, so we can hear you. Are you able to turn on your camera? There we go. Although unfortunately, it looks like you've been muted again. So staff, could you prompt Mr. Olsen? There we go.
There. How are we doing?
Good. All right, Mr. Olsen, we're ready to hear from you. Do you need me to repeat the questions that we're asking you to speak to?
No.
Okay, great. We'll turn over to you then.
Okay. In 2012, I was convicted of delivering of amphetamines. I was put on probation for 5 years. Part of my probation, I had to do 300 hours of community service. I also completed a drug assessment class. Then I broke probation by selling more. I was sent to jail. I could have been sentenced for 10 years, but only was in jail for 12 months, which was a wake-up call since then. I've been working for a company called Fonco, repairing antique payphones. I'm also their mechanic. I like to get... Sorry about that. Still, hello. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Someone tried calling me.
Yeah, got it. You're good.
Okay. Okay, I was sentenced for I could have been sentenced for 10 years, but was in jail for 2 months, which was a wake-up call. Since then, I've been working for a company called Fonco, repairing antique payphones, and I'm also their mechanic. I like to get off the felony because I'm a deer hunter and a small game hunter, and I like to be able to carry a gun again. That's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Olsen. Let's just see if the board members have any questions for you. Judge Cromers.
Yeah, just one question. So when did you, I saw you were revoked in 2016. When did you get off paper?
Well, I was revoked. I got off paper, I guess, after I got out of jail. I mean, I don't
When was that?
really know. Huh? Oh, see, I went in jail in January. I think I was out in March.
And there was no supervision after that?
Nope, I was taken off of supervision.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Cindy.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Olsen. A couple of questions. We don't see a lot of people that have their first felony conviction at the age of 50. What made you get involved in this at that age? We see a lot of 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds that are finding their way.
Well, I suppose I wasn't really having I don't know, I wasn't making a lot of money, so I guess I more or less did it for money to help pay for food and stuff in the house, you know. But you're not the first one that said that. My probation officer that I had, he said that I was the oldest person. He knows that.
I bet. My second question is, as part of the application process, people are encouraged to put in letters of support. And we're always looking for that and also the ways people have given back to their community. And so first, you didn't put in any letters of support. And then on the section on the application where it specifically asks what community service work you've done, you put NA, not applicable. So what have you done to earn this pardon consideration?
Well, I've been staying out of trouble. I haven't been in the more laws, or I haven't selling any more drugs or anything like that.
And why no letters of support?
I don't know. Now I kind of wish they would have.
Yeah, well, it's helpful to us, to get a picture of the full person.
Right, I know. I wish they would have, but I didn't think, because it said that's not necessary. So I guess I should have.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Olsen, just a couple questions for me. You have a couple of domestic abuse related charges from 2007, and it looks like there was a restraining order granted against you for 4 years in 2006. Can you tell us about what was going on there?
That was my wife. She was accusing me of something that I wasn't doing, but being that she's a woman, not at that time they just took her word for it over mine. But yeah, it all became a misdemeanor. She dropped all the restraining orders, and she kept getting restraining orders. And finally, they told her that she couldn't get no more.
Okay, but you were convicted in 2007 of a domestic abuse incident. Is that right?
Yeah, for a misdemeanor. It wasn't. I don't think I was a felony.
That's right. It's a misdemeanor. Okay, and then I just want to mention, Mr. Olsen, one of the reasons you listed in your application for seeking a pardon was to be able to vote. And you might have heard me tell a previous applicant this.
I did.
I would encourage you to look into that. Yeah.
Right.
You're generally
That's why I didn't bring it up. That's why I didn't bring it up this time.
Okay, perfect. Well, great. Does anyone else have questions for Mr. Olsen? Okay. Thanks, Mr. Olsen. Appreciate your time today and hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. So Mr. Olsen was our last applicant of the morning session. We'll be back in the afternoon, but at this point, I'll entertain a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning specific cases before the board, considering specific applications and financial, medical, social, and personal histories of specific persons. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Judge Carmen, second from Cindy. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and motion carries. The board will now move in. Good afternoon, everyone. If you're just joining us from the Zoom waiting room, we're going to give everyone just a minute to get connected to audio and all logged in, and we'll get started very shortly. Okay, I think everyone is in and our live stream is working, so we'll get started. Good afternoon, my name is Mel Barnes. I'm the Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Tony Evers and the Chair of the Pardon Advisory Board. I'm going to introduce my fellow board members. I'm going to go through just a couple of housekeeping items, and then we will get started hearing from all of you. So with us today in the Zoom, we have board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as the Deputy Secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a Division Administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. We have board member Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously worked as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. And we have with us on the phone for now, board member Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is AG Call's nominee to this board. Judge Kremers served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, serving as chief judge for 7 of those years before retiring in 2018. We are eager to hear from all of you today, but want to give you a couple quick reminders first. For starters, please keep in mind today's hearing is being live streamed on Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. For that reason, we'll ask you to keep yourself muted and keep your camera off until it is your turn to be heard by the board so that we can hear and focus on the person who is presenting. If you do run into any IT issues, don't worry about it. Someone from staff will reach out, give you a call, get things sorted out. And if it means that we need to come back to you because Zoom isn't cooperating when it is your turn, we can certainly do that. Otherwise, we will call on applicants in the order listed on the agenda and open meetings notice. And each applicant will have about 5 minutes total with the board. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 of those minutes speaking to the questions that you were sent in advance of today's hearing. So as a reminder, that is to please provide us with a brief summary of your offense and how your sentence went. A brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, including community involvement and employment, basically where you're at now, how your life is different than the time of your offense. And then third, finally, a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. Once you've spent the first 3 minutes speaking to those items, we will use the next 2 minutes to field any questions that the board members might have for you. We do have all your written materials. We spent quite a bit of time with those, so don't read too much into it if there aren't any questions for you. But if board members have questions, we want to make sure we get to them so that everyone can make an informed recommendation to the governor. Once you're done answering any questions the board has for you, though, you're welcome to log off. You don't need to stay in the Zoom hearing. And once everyone has been heard, the board will meet in closed session and decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present in order for your application to be forwarded to the governor, who will then make a final decision about granting or denying your pardon application. Either way, you'll hear about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month to a month and a half from today. So I want to recognize that you've been patient just to get to this point, and we'll ask for just a little bit more patience so that we can make those recommendations to the governor. With that, we will go ahead and get started with this afternoon's applicants. Our first is Brendan Brennan. Mr. Brennan? Okay, Mr. Brennan, if you can hear me, we are ready to hear from you. Do not see Mr. Brennan, so we will come back to him if we're able to get him in the Zoom later. In the meantime, we will move on to Latanya Trammell. Ms. Trammell.
Hello?
Hello. We're able to hear you. We can't quite see you yet.
There we go.
Perfect. We'll turn it over to you to start answering those 3 questions we sent you in advance. Just let me know if you need me to repeat anything.
My offense was taking and driving without an owner's consent. My sentence went okay.
There, I got you.
I think I was.
Oh, there you go.
Go ahead and continue. I think we got the sound issue sorted out there.
I was supposed to do 2 years of probation. I only did 1. I was let off early. What I've done, and I've continued working, driving the bus. I should receive a pardon. I wanted to adopt a child. and I know I can't being a felon. So that would be really nice if I could get this off. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, questions from the board for Mr. Mel? Judge Kremers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mel. I'm trying to understand if you know why there was a 3-year delay between when you took the cars in 2013, but you didn't get charged until 2016. You know what was so long?
Nobody told me anything. I did ask that question, and they just told me they had up to 7 years to charge me. I didn't understand. My brother was already in prison for like 4 years before they said anything to me. I didn't understand
Thank you.
either.
Other questions from the board? Cindy.
Good afternoon, Ms. Trammell. So one of the things we look for is people that have given back since their conviction, since they've given back to their community. And in the application, number 16 asks for community service or any volunteer work, and you put not applicable. So have you done anything to give back to the community since your offense?
No, I have not.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, I think that covers it then. Thank you very much, Mr. Mill. Appreciate your time with the board and hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Okay, thank you guys.
Next up, we have Kelvin Cook. Mr. Cook.
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my video.
That's okay, take your time.
Sorry about that. Something is wrong with my video.
Yeah, it looks like your camera isn't working. We can proceed with just audio if that works for you.
Yes, we can. That'll
Okay.
be perfect.
Okay, go ahead then.
Okay. So my name is Kelvin Cook. My conviction was in 2007. It was burglary, armed self, and fleeing with the attempt to elude. It happened so long ago, so try to bear with me. At the time of the offense, I was in a very dark place. I was grieving loss of family, and I was heavily influenced by drugs and the wrong people around me. I was not in my right state of mind. I allowed pain and confusion to lead me down a destructive path. So I take full accountability for my actions and deeply regret the choices I made. What happened does not define who I am today, and I work hard to grow, heal, and become someone who makes better decisions. And I'm truly sorry for the harm caused and respectfully ask for the opportunity to move forward with my life. I stand before you today, not as the man I once was, but as a man I work diligently and prayerfully to become. My life has transformed in ways that reflect not only personal growth, but also a sincere commitment to serving my family, my community, and the purpose God has placed on my life. I am a proud co-founder of No Matter What, a global ministry. It's an outreach ministry rooted in Milwaukee County, dedicated to serving those in need. Through this ministry, we feed the homeless, both physically and spiritually, by providing meals, care packages, sleeping bags, tents, and most importantly, hope. We don't just offer temporary help, we offer resources and connections, reminding every soul we encounter that they are not forgotten. For nearly 4 years, I owned and operated a commercial and residential cleaning company, but it's more than just a business, it's a platform for empowerment. I've intentionally opened doors for those who may have been overlooked or counted out, offering part-time employment opportunities to individuals looking for a second chance, just like I once needed. I've been married to my best friend for 10 years, and we've been together for 16. Our bond is built on faith, growth, and unconditional love. Together, we weathered storms and celebrated victories, and I'm proud to say our relationship is stronger than ever. I'm also a devoted father. My love for my children runs deep, and everything I do is with the hope of leaving behind a legacy they can be proud of. I strive every day to be a man they can look up to, an example of resilience, accountability, and transformation. On top of my entrepreneurial ministry work, I've held a full-time second shift job for the past 2 years, ensuring that my family is covered with health benefits and financial stability. Provided for my household isn't just a responsibility, it's an honor. And now I'm stepping into a new chapter as an author. I'm preparing to publish my first book, one of many to come, using my story and experiences to uplift others and reflect grace that has carried me this far. There are so many things I could share, but above all, I hope society can see that I'm not defined by my past. I'm a living testimony of change. I'm committed to walking in purpose, growing in faith, and giving back to a world that I once took from. Everything I do now is for the glory of God because He saw fit to give me another chance, and I refuse to waste it. I want to sincerely thank you for taking the time to read my story and consider my request. I recognize that a pardon is a privilege, not a right, and I do not take this opportunity lightly. It would be a powerful affirmation, not just of my personal transformation, but also of the work I continue to do in uplifting others. This journey has not been easy, but it has been necessary. Every lesson, every setback, every moment of reflection has shaped the man I am today. I work hard to build a life that reflects redemption, responsibility, and purpose. I don't just want this pardon for myself. I want it for my children, my family, my community, and everyone who believes in second chances. My heart, my hands, and my life are committed to doing what's right, not just when someone is watching, but even more when no one is. I'm not asking to erase the past. I'm asking for the opportunity to continue building a better future, one that speaks louder than my mistakes ever could. I'm committed to this journey for the rest of my life. I will continue to walk in faith, serve with compassion, lead with integrity and honor the second chance that I've been blessed to build upon. Thank you for seeing me and hearing me and considering my request.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. We'll just open up and see if board members have any questions for you. Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Cook, in your application, you wrote about how heartbroken you were when you got out of jail and your 5-month-old daughter did not recognize you. How is she doing now?
Oh, she's doing wonderful now. So now she's 18 years old and she's graduating high school and going to head to college.
Great. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Cindy?
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Cook. Thank you for the letters of support you submitted. Those are very helpful to the board members and also for your kind of very extensive community service. So first, I want to thank you for that. My question is, do you still own and operate that cleaning company?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you also work a second shift job so that you have stable health insurance? Is that what I understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Cook? All right. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Cook. Appreciate it and hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you so much. You guys take care.
You as well. Okay, and then I want to do another call for Mr. Brennan, Brendan Brennan, if you're with us in the Zoom.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay, that was the problem I had before. The mic was not working.
Okay, got it. And are you able to turn your camera on?
Let's see. Start my video. Okay, how's that?
Perfect. All right.
Obviously, I have somebody helping me. I'm not very good with this.
That's okay. We all struggle with tech, even those of us who do this every month. So we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. To start with, it's been so long ago. It's over 20 years. But what had happened is I was, hold on 1 second. I got too many volumes and I can't hear just the one. There's an echo. Okay. I was convicted of cocaine, possession of cocaine. And I don't know who the person was. I'm confused here. I got too many cameras going on and such. Okay, is this working?
Yep.
Okay. I'm trying, I got an echo going on, so I'm hearing myself too.
Yeah, we can hear that, but we can understand you all right. If you can't fix it, I think you're good to continue.
Okay. So, all right, so briefly, that's what I was in a vehicle with another person, and I was going to buy a pickup truck from him up in Marinette. Police started chasing him. He opened the console, told me to throw a bag out, and I knew what it was. And he took a left, went 2 miles down the road, told me to get out of the car. I got out, but my wallet was still in the car. So I had no ID. The only thing, it was a dumb mistake I made. I should have walked to the police department or had them take me to the police department. But I went back and I picked up the bag, hoping for a way to get home because I didn't know anybody in this town. So that's what happened to me. Since that time, I have bought a house, raised a family. I have a daughter that I put through college. I've been doing community service in the neighborhood for my elderly neighbors, cutting their lawns, maintenance, any problems with their houses, the garage door doesn't open. I'm really looking to get this off my mind. It's been so long ago that I just want to have some closure to this, and that's why I'm looking for a pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. We'll open it up to questions from the board. Cindy?
Good afternoon, Mr. Brennan. A couple of questions. I know you said you want to get it off your mind, but how would your life change if you were to receive a pardon?
How would I do what again?
How would your life change?
My life change?
Yeah.
Just I would like to just not have to look back at this again, knowing that if I have a pardon, it would be just a closure for me. But changing my life, my life is good right now. I just want to have more of a dignity about myself.
Okay. We don't see a lot of 44-year-olds committing their first crime. So what made you get involved in this behavior at 44?
I've asked myself that question also. How this could have even had happened to me. My daughter at the time, I believe she was 6. I'm not too clear. She's 27 now. It's doing very well. But it was a mistake. It was a total mistake. I had no idea what was going on. I was going up there to do some landscape work in exchange for buying a pickup truck, and came into the town of Marinette, and then the police pursuit happened. And one thing led to another. Wrong place, wrong time. I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Reverend Hancock.
Can you remember how you met up with the guy who's gonna sell you the pickup? Where were you when you met him?
It was a friend of another friend, and we were at a bar, and he happened to have walked in. We got to get to know each other. He asked, what did I do for a living? Told him that I was a landscaper, but I would like to try to start my own business. And he said that if you're looking for a pickup truck, I have one, but I live in Marinette, and I was in Illinois at the time. But I guess he claimed that he traveled to Illinois every other weekend or so, and that if I wanted to get a ride from him out there, do the landscape work in exchange for the pickup truck.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board? No. All right, thank you, Mr. Brennan. Appreciate your time and hope that you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next up, we have Amy Russo. Ms. Russo?
Yes, let's see. Okay, perfect. Good afternoon. My name is Amy Russo. I'm here in reference to an offense that occurred when I was 20, which was after 6 years of severe substance abuse. I was arrested and convicted for conspiracy to deliver and manufacture heroin. The sentence was 18 months in state prison and 56 months extended supervision. Fortunately, I was able to do the earned release program at REEC, an intensive drug counseling program for 6 months, writing, crying, learning a lot about yourself and why you make the choices you do. Ending the program, I was able to tutor fellow inmates and released. I didn't have a place to go. So I also went to a halfway house, still under a program. And again, fortunately enough, I was able to have a mentor. Sister Fran. So I'm still friends with her today. And she's a lot of the reason that I do have exposure to volunteering in the community. Volunteering with her, we did St. Vincent de Paul during my time at the halfway house. Now we do, I did Wellspring, visit the residents at Woodside, visit the residents at her convent. After a couple weeks at the halfway house, found a job, found a second job, got a car, got an apartment. And then a couple years later, I was actually asked to speak at the ERP program at the graduation ceremony. So that meant a lot as far as how my sentence went. The completion of my sentence, so it's been 14 years since I was charged. It's been 8 years since I completed. That was in June of 2017. I did celebrate through skydiving, and I shared that with the judge and the facilitators. I graduated the University of Green Bay with my bachelor's after completing my associate's in 2016. So getting my bachelor's in 2018. I decided to move to San Diego in 2019. Had the opportunity to live in Arizona in 2021, so I made that move. I'm back in Green Bay now. My mom's boyfriend was diagnosed with cancer, and it was better for me to be back home, be there to support them and support my mom. So I've been back here, seeing Sister Fran again, back in the community, currently ringing for the Salvation Army. I got my data analytics certification, so looking to move my career in a corporate position. I'm in my 30s now. So that correlates with why I'm looking for a pardon. Unfortunately, it does hinder me from even finding an apartment here, finding an apartment in a nice neighborhood and a nice building. I was able to find one through my old landlord. So yeah, a pardon would give me the opportunity to live in nicer neighborhoods, also get a position at a corporate company with a higher paying salary. And also, I do love traveling, and my charge hinders me from going to a lot of countries. And yeah, I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to have a pardon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russo. Questions from the board? Cindy?
So I think if I remember your application, you recently had another anniversary of your sobriety, right?
Yes, yeah, that would be the 3rd.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, yes.
So 14 years now?
Yes.
And how do you maintain that? Do you still go to meetings? How do you still work that program?
Honestly, I would say the biggest, and I told the girls this at the graduation, is who you surround yourself with. I think that's the biggest endeavor. I moved to Ashwaubenon, so I'm surrounded in a completely different neighborhood, different stores. I don't run into people. Moving to California, I didn't know anybody. I was able to choose my groups, choose the classes I went to, the parks I went to. So I think it's a lot to do with who you surround yourself with. And like I said, Sister Fran and I, we see each other whenever we can. And, it's just keeps you grounded. Same with instructors, facilitators, even Judge Zymolder. I mean, his notes to me were super important. Just getting that feedback keeps you grounded.
Well, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yep. All right. Thank you, Ms. Russo. Appreciate your time with the board, and hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Johnny Qualik. Kowalik. Sorry about that. Ready to hear from you.
Okay. You got the first name right. Nobody ever does that. So everybody hear me fine?
Yes.
Good afternoon. I would like to thank the Pardon Advisory Board along with Governor Evers for this opportunity to discuss my case. My name is Johnny Kowalik, and I'm a mother of 2 and a Gigi of 9 grandchildren. I teach first grade at Hackett Elementary in Beloit, Wisconsin. Honorably, this is my 29th year of teaching in Wisconsin schools. I currently hold a master's plus 73 credits and am planning on, pending this pardon outcome, enrolling for a doctorate degree in educational leadership and policy analysis. Here's a summary of my offense. On March 21st, 2012, I was allegedly accused of 5 felony accounts of theft of a business setting. The victim, whom I've called Pops for over 10 years, accused me of stealing from him. There's a long list of checks which were written on Henry's behalf where he denied or didn't remember. Examples are several ambulance calls, dentist doctor's appointments, medical supplies. They were all for him. Through proving evidence to the DA, the majority of these checks were cleared. 3 of the 5 felony charges were dropped. 2 of the remaining charges, the $10,000 charge, the jury found me innocent. The lesser, $2,500 to $5,000, I was found guilty. The biggest factor that never came out in court was that Henry and I were joint owners of our account during the time I was arrested of theft. Our banker, Anthony Moorfield, was never put on the stand. 1 month before my trial, I was given a new lawyer. The owner of the firm thought the original lawyer was not up to the task of being lead lawyer, because he had never had his own case before. Under oath, the newly appointed attorney later admitted that he didn't know the law, he didn't review many notes of the case, he didn't present to the jury joint owner versus PO power of attorney differences, and most importantly, to be certain our banker to take the stand. This banker was ready to testify on my behalf that the account was indeed a joint account and that by law he had to and explicitly remembered explaining this to Henry, the difference between power of attorney and joint account. Of my 4 witnesses approved and waiting, there was only time for 8 or 9 of them to take the stand. The DA had twice as much time to present her case. The final day of the trial, I was expecting my attorney to ask for a mistrial as we had discussed the night before through email, but he never showed up to court. This lawyer was found deficient in the courtroom later, but unfortunately that didn't do me any good. I had already been found guilty. Judge Race was quoted during sentencing. I'm still wondering what she is doing in this courtroom in the first place, and that it's a tragedy that a dispute like this could have been settled in mediation or by the civil process, ending up in instead of ending up in criminal court. He also stated this was a joint account. If she wanted to take all the money out and go to Vegas, she could have, but she simply didn't do that. That day, I was sentenced to 2 years probation, along with my restitution fees of $5,000, which were paid in full. My probation was cleared 1 year early. With this conviction, I was asked to resign teaching in Lake Geneva. This was a very dark period in my life. I tried to get simple jobs just to make ends meet. After completing many applications, I came to the conclusion that this felony on my record would make it very hard to even get an interview. Last month, I finished 5 weeks of daily radiation. I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. I tell you this not at all for pity, but how I compare this illness to the darkness I felt when my world was falling apart, losing my job and facing jail time with a 9-year-old son at home. My cancer surgeries took away part of my body, but this conviction took away part of my soul. I was asked to be on the church council by my pastors. After a year of serving on council, I was nominated and voted in as vice president. My daughter and I taught Sunday school. A community who only saw good in me helped me keep my head up. I took it upon myself to send a letter to a former colleague of mine who was then the superintendent of Beloit schools. I asked for a chance to schedule a meeting with him in order to explain my story with hopes to be able to teach again. He listened to my story. His response to me was that he had never seen a resume more impressive than mine. A month later, I was interviewed and hired as an elementary teacher. I have to admit I was scared. It would be a 50-minute drive each way. The mile radius of Hackett School has some, and still does, I'm here right now, some of the highest crime rates in the state. These weren't speeding tickets, they're murders, severe drug dealings and overdoses, physical abuse of children, and neglect. After my first year of teaching in Beloit, I realized some pretty amazing life lessons. On my way to school, I heard a song, Blessings. The lyrics say, when friends betray us, when darkness seems that's all we know, it paralyzes our heart and asks us, where is our home? And what if the greatest trials in your life are the blessings in disguise? After hearing this song, I realized I was meant for bigger challenges in my teaching career. These families love, support, protect, and most importantly, need me. I quickly became part of the school, the Beloit family. I let go of fear. I began what I thought was going to be a simple coat drive for just my students. Within a couple weeks of advocating, I was able to provide for any student in all of Beloit schools. I collected over 1,000 coats. It further included a fundraising of food gift cards for the 600 plus McKinney-Vento children living in Beloit, most of whom are teenagers living on the streets. My third year of teaching in Beloit, I ended up temporarily fostering a student of mine whose entire family was in danger with their lives being threatened because their father had escaped jail. That same year, I won the Beloit Elementary Teacher of the Year. It's nearly impossible to earn this award in a lifetime. Other community volunteering includes after-school tutoring, transportation for children to and from school, and monthly family fitness nights. I have taken 8 Cox Campus early literacy courses this year. I have taught summer school, and I also am currently working at a wine venue on weekends and summers in Lake Geneva called the Bottle Shop. As my pardon application says, there are numerous events that I've either donated to and or volunteered to work at. When asked why I should receive a pardon, it is for many reasons. It has been my lifelong desire to become a principal. I gave up that dream after all of this happening, knowing that having a felony on my record most likely would affect the possibility of this dream to come true. The next reason I'm seeking a pardon is to gain the right to bear a firearm. My ex-husband Ray and I used to hunt, and even though we were divorced, we had gotten back together during the whole Henry saga. My son and Ray spent many years together, both bow and gun hunting. 5 years ago, 1 week before my son's high school graduation, his father suddenly died of heart failure. Since the death of his father, he has yet to hunt again. I would love nothing more than to take him to his father's tree stand, spread his ashes together, and go hunting with him. I also would like to restore my firearm rights to be able to take a conceal and carry class. Most importantly, I would love to have this life-changing tragedy be put behind my friends, my family, and myself. It's been 13 years since I was convicted. Over and over, I have questioned myself and those close to me, along with through counseling, what I should or could have done differently. I could talk for hours and hours, sharing all the love and care my family and I gave Henry. There's evidence in every one of these letters of support that I hope you've received. I tried to make amends with Henry. Unfortunately, the person he then lived with wouldn't allow me to talk to him. Looking back now, I am guilty of not hiring a third party, specifically Henry's lawyer secretary, Mary Ann, to look over our joint account spending. I'm guilty of writing a check that benefited me or my family, regardless if we were joint account. Some checks were written because of at the time convenience as gifts or money that he had borrowed me. I have evidence for most of these occasions. Henry in court even changed his mind and admitted he was wrong on some of the accusations. The one that Henry denied offering was to help my daughter with a third of one semester of college. He actually wanted to pay for the year and I would not allow it. I believe that kids should have some sort of monetary investment in their schooling. We were thankful for his offer, but only accepted $3,838. Again, I'm guilty of allowing my daughter to accept this check without a non-family witness, especially because it was such a large amount. This is the check that made my guilty charge a felony. I've learned a lot from this experience and do have many regrets. Throughout this ordeal, Henry's entire family was on my side, and sadly, he never talked to any one of them ever again. Despite all of the pain and heartache, our family still held one another and cried when we heard the news of his passing. I only hope that the official closing of this case will lead to not only my peace, but those of Henry's loved ones as well. Thank you again for this opportunity and for all that you do.
Thank you, Ms. Qualik. Questions from the board? Judge Kremers?
So, Ms. Qualik, I'm curious. Are you asking for a pardon here because you want to be excused for your criminal conduct, or are you asking for a pardon to vindicate what you feel should have been the outcome of the trial?
I'm asking for a pardon to pursue a principalship. I have a year and a half of schooling, and I would really like to do that. That has been my goal my entire life, to become a principal.
I understand that, but most of the people, the overwhelming majority of people that come in front of the pardon board or ask the governor for a pardon are asking to be forgiven for a crime that they committed, in a sense, or have their criminal conduct excused by way of a pardon. I seem to hear from you that that's not really the basis for your request, but rather that you feel like you were unfairly charged with felonies in this case, and that due to a combination of things, lack of the ability to present witnesses, bad lawyering, you got convicted of something that in your mind should never have happened. Is that about right?
I admitted that I was guilty of writing some checks on my daughter's and my behalf, but it was Henry's word against mine, whether or not I paid him back. And I didn't pay him back on a couple, but they were gifts from him. And Henry was a sick man. He was a very sick man. It was a very sad period of our time. He was my father to me. So more than worrying about anyone forgiving me or thinking I'm not guilty, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. At the time, yes, I was like, what's going on? My lawyer is not representing me. I didn't feel like most of the witnesses took the stand. That's all water under the bridge. I don't even think about that anymore. I wrote this because I wanted you to know that part of the story, because I don't know if that is in any records. So I thought that was important that you would know that, but more importantly, that I've learned that I should have done things differently.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions from the board? Reverend Hancock.
Just to be clear, are you in your classroom?
I'm in my principal's classroom. He gave me his room because I told him we have 0 subs at our school. And so we have to split our students when anybody calls in sick. And I just had a hip replacement last month also. And so I have 0 days to take off. Plus, I didn't want to take off. I needed 2 hours max for this afternoon. I talked to my boss, who is well aware of what's going on in my life, and he offered his office.
Okay. And you were pretty compelling about teaching at this school. It's Hackett in
Hackett
Beloit?
Elementary.
Okay, but you had been teaching in Lake Geneva, right?
Yes, I first started teaching at Salem Grade School, and then I moved to Lake Geneva schools because the school actually where I moved to was right next to Henry's farmhouse. And while I cared for him for those 10 years, he was on breathing treatments. I had to go there in the morning and lunch and give him his breathing treatments. And then he eventually moved in with me.
Okay, and how would you briefly describe the difference between the school you taught at in Lake Geneva and the school you teach at in Beloit?
Like I said, the song, it's a blessing in disguise. My students here, most of them are raised by grandparents. At least one of the parents usually are incarcerated right now. One of my students a couple months ago made headline news because of neglect. Every year I have parents that aren't involved in their kids as much. They love them very much, but a lot of them are illiterate as well. I treat every one of my students as if they were my own. I love them. And that's why I believe I received teaching awards. I would never leave. I would never leave here unless I became a principal. And my boss, Mr. McReynolds, he wants me to become his vice principal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Qualik. Appreciate your time with the board today and hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Yeah, happy weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Bernardino San Martin. Mr. San Martin. Mr. San Martin, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Can you see me?
Yes. Okay, your video's coming through now. There we go.
Can you see me now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, my name is Bernie. Call me Bernie San Martin, originally from Cuba. Came to the United States in 1980, the age of 16. Came by myself. Later on reunited with my father and a brother. And so I was kind of a little bit loose cannon at that age. I was just newly here, really didn't know the law, the culture of the land. So I got involved in some dealings that I shouldn't have been involved with relating to drugs. So in 1984, there was a conviction. They actually was apprehended, and I was taken to jail. And then I was charged with the intent to deliver. There was a plea bargain. It was intent to deliver. I believe there was also a shotgun in the house that was disassembled. We didn't even know if it worked, but it was there nevertheless. And so I believe that there was a plea deal in that I pleaded guilty to that. And so I was given a 3-year sentence. And so I began my sentence in May the 20th of 1985, taken to Green Bay Correctional. And while in Green Bay Correctional, I decided that I had to do something with my life because live in a country now that it isn't my country. I'm still not a resident or a citizen, so I had to do something with my life. And so I took on body shop, and I learned my body shop and graduated. From there, I was transferred to Carroll Marine in Plymouth, Wisconsin. And there I got my HED. I got also foundry. I done foundry, got the experience of how to make molds and all of that. And then I took human relations as well. When I completed my sentence, I was transferred to Chicago, Peoria, Chicago, to be deported. I actually was in the process of being deported. They took me down from Peoria to Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, where I was to be deported. I was to go before a judge in Louisiana and to hear my case of deportation. That never took place because the judge died. So that meeting was canceled. I don't know if you remember, in 1987, late 87, there was a agreement between Cuba and the United States that they would deport us, they would take us back. And so during that period, we was getting ready to be deported. Down in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, I was under we was at a county jail that was built strictly for the Cubans to be held there. And the warden of the county jail, he kind of got to liking me, and he allowed me freedom to roam and to do things for him, to work for him. I was given great liberty to even work for the police officers, clean their vehicles, and also work inside the county jail for the controller. They would allow me to come in and work, open the doors and close doors for the police officers remotely. And so my life was slowly beginning to turn around. During that uprising that took place in Oakdale, in Georgia, because of this deportation situation, the surrender agreement of these people that took the uprising in those prisons was that a commission be formed and that each case would be reviewed. And so there was a committee that came to Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, where I was there detained. And so after interviewing me, they decided that I did qualified to be released back into society, in which I did return back to Wisconsin. I lived in Ashwaubenon there for a night in right around 88. I arrived in February, somewhere in 88. I started working for Spring Green. It's a lawn care company in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And so when I finished the season, I moved to the state of Ohio, where I now reside. Moving to Ohio, I started working for another lawn care company. And so, but I was also applying for different jobs, and I applied for General Motors, car makers here in Dayton, Ohio. And so they did agree to interview me, and as a matter of fact, they gave me a job with General Motors. I worked for General Motors for 17 years as a lathe operator, grinder operator. And so, but during this time of the 17 years, I was taking, they offered a buyout because General Motors was running into hardship. And so I took the buyout and left. And so my wife and I have been, we got married in 1999, and we're still with my wife. We have a daughter. And so we took the buyout and left. They had our own, and we formed our own company. We started selling books and merchandise on Amazon. And so we did that for 12 years. And so at the end of 12 years, we called it quits and moved to Lima, Ohio. Here in Lima, Ohio, I work for a company. It's called New Life Scientific. And what we do here is they hire me as a contractor. So I come in there and I do chassis work for lab equipment. And so I do the chassis work and I do the painting. So we was very instrumental during COVID, because the equipment that we worked on, or that we still work on, was very essential for COVID. A lot of test vials and machines that we was running on. And so during that time, they did not shut us down. The state of Ohio allowed us to be open, and to continue doing the work that we was doing because it was so essential for the state and in the United States. We were selling equipment to all over the world and in the United States. And so, in which I'm still a part of that. The reason why I apply for my pardon is because in 2006, my work permit would not be renewed by the INS or the immigration. And this was due is because I was to report to my immigration officer, parole officer in Cleveland, Ohio. And I did that faithfully. And the last time that I saw Mr. Rodrigo in Cleveland, Ohio, he told me that I would no longer need to see him, that I could go now to Cincinnati, Ohio, and renew my work permit there until further notice. So that I did faithfully. Every year I would go and renew my work permit. But in 2006, after the Twin Towers, there was a turn that the immigration was taken. And so I was asked why I was in Cincinnati and not back in Cleveland, Ohio, where I should have been all along under a parole officer. And so I told them that my parole officer in Cleveland, Ohio had sent me to Cincinnati and that they were aware of that. Look on the records, you guys are aware of that. And so they told me that they will no longer renew my work permit and that I would have to refer back to Cleveland, which I went back to Cleveland and I tried to speak to the INS immigration officers in Cleveland. They refused to reinstate me back to Mr. Delgado's under his custody or under his parole supervision. So we have had to hire lawyers, go before immigration officers in trying to sort this problem out. And so they will not by any means try to reinstate me back under the supervision of my immigration parole officer. So my attorney suggested that I would file with the state of Wisconsin for a pardon. And so that's what I have done. I wanted to show you that during my imprisonment, I do have my GED. I got my GED. I don't know if you can see it from there. Can you see it from there? My HED?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, for some reason it's black. My background is blacking out. And
Yeah, it's kind of coming in and out.
I also have my body shop diploma. And I have also have multiple letters of certificates from General Motors. I don't know if you can see that from there. And so I also have my 5 years from my 10 years from General Motors. And so I also have my certificate for 5 years with the New Life Scientific here in Cridosville, Ohio. And I also have a lot of recommendation letters, which I did not attach. I didn't realize that there would be that significance. I have letters from my pastor, which I attend here in Lima, Ohio. The church is called BCF, Bible Believers Fellowship. I have letters from my pastor. I have letters from the Ed Quinlan, which he is was the supervisor for the city of Xenia. I got to know him quite well. And so he also wrote letters of recommendation of character, neighbors. And so, but I have letters from church members, co-workers. And so this has been the pack that I wanted to send. I believe that I sent some of them, but I did not attach these letters of recommendation, but I do have them in my possession.
You can send those to us by email, Mr. San Martin?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can. I could submit them all to you. I'll set them to the side and do that, and we'll do that. I wanted to also take the opportunity to say that I'm concerning the charges. I am guilty. I am not in any way excusing myself. You know, and man, what someone does, you're responsible for what you do. You're young, you make mistakes, but yet you're responsible. All you can do is just turn your life around and take the time that you've been given, the opportunity that you was given, and make good out of that. And I believe that that's what I have done. been a church member since I went into prison. I wanted to say that I started out with the Catholic Church and attending services, and I pretty much started, continue on with Protestant services, and so I'm still a church attendee, and that's been a huge, benefit to me to be with people that benefit me, and has helped me steer me through life in the course to stay. So that support has been great for me. At this point, why I need what should I deserve, or why would I want to pardon? Because of my circumstances with the immigration, this is the only avenue that I have to be able to have my work permit. Otherwise, I have to be a contractor, and so I cannot be a regular employee. And so this has created a huge hindrance for me and my family. I can't drive because they will not give me any driver license. So I've been pretty much left in limbo. Immigration, Cuba won't take me back because they will not take back anybody that's been in the United States over 4 years. And then the United States, or the INS, will not issue me a work permit unless I have a pardon. I have my records would have to be expunged. And so it's created a problem for me. And so I hope that my story would make sense. A little nervous. I'm not a public speaker and may not be able to hold things the way that I should, and present them before you. But at this time, I'm open for any questions that this board may have.
Thank you, Mr. San Martin.
You're
Questions
welcome.
from the board? No? Okay, I think that covered everything then, Mr. San Martin. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.
You could do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Derwin Smith. Mr. Smith?
Oh, wow.
Hello, we're able to hear you. Are you able to turn your camera on?
Can you see me now? Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
Hello, my name is Derwin Smith, and on December 7th, 2006, I was called by a friend to deliver some cocaine to him. When I got there, the police were waiting for me. I'm extremely apologetic for my behavior, and I had no business being involved in such activities. I received the 8-year sentence and was granted challenge incarceration program, which I thought would be a great fit for me. I had 0 issues with boot camp, and I graduated on time. Since my release, I've turned my life around and focused on what's important, my family, my career. I've been able to volunteer for the Family Fathers Being Involved program. It was a real eye-opener for me to see other kids that was just like me, fatherless, to support them, to give them a chance, to show them the right way, so that way they don't go down the wrong road. I've been full-time employment since I've been released. I received numerous certificates for the company that I work for. Since being released, it's been hard for me to find work, a decent home. I had to purchase a home. I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment building for 6 years. I had to save my money to buy a home. If granted a pardon, it will open the doors that's been closed on me for some time, give me a sense of relief and confidence that I need, knowing that nothing can hold me back. The company that I currently work for has many opportunities for me. Myself and the managers all agree that I will be a good fit. Attached to my application is a letter explaining how a pardon could help me. As you may know, this is my 2nd time applying for a pardon, and I hope I'm able to get the votes that I need. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Questions from the board? Reverend Hancock.
Mr. Smith,
yes, sir.
How have things changed in your life in the 4 years since you first applied?
I lost my sister. I lost my daughter. I just found out that my twins have a severe case of autism. It's been rough. I've just been trying to, stay focused, keep the kids on the right path, keep employment, stuff like that. I've been doing the same thing pretty much. I haven't been drinking. My last offense for drinking was 2009. I've been sober since then. I really don't do much. I just work, come home, be with the kids, and just try to stay out of trouble, help the neighbors out, stuff like that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I think that covers it then. Appreciate your time and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Our next applicant is Annette Ragsdale.
Yes, hello.
Hello, we can hear you. And there we go. Now we can see you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do you want me to get started?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Annette Ragsdale. Thank you for having me. I'm here today and to say that I'm sorry and for my foolish action that I committed 27 years ago. I was convicted of robbery in 1998. I had taken a total of $606 from 3 bakeries. Thank God that no one was hurt during my foolish actions. And I was sentenced to 6 years of probation, which I was discharged in 2005 without any reservation. Is that what the word is? I'm sorry. And I apologize for the part regarding restitution. I wrote in my pardon application that restitution was not ordered, but it looks like it was ordered after my conviction, and I was not aware of it. I was working during my probation, and I believe that I paid all my charges, including restitution. The CPAP shows no balance left in my case. Since that time, I have worked in Milwaukee Public Schools as a cook for 22 years. I have worked tirelessly. I have 2 children. I raised it, all grown up. And at the time of my convention, I was struggling financially because I lost one of my jobs. And I also had a gambling issue, but I straightened myself up and got help with Gamblers Anonymous. And I also was seeing a psychiatrist at the time. And I didn't do it. And I did volunteer. I didn't volunteer officially agencies, but I did volunteer during my probation with Feeding America for 100 hours. But I do help my family, friends, and community. Anyone needs anything, they often count on me. Neighbors and my friends, and whenever they need help. I also, if I was able to give them some food, and I know my probation is not a gift, but I'm not entitled to. But since 1998, I have not violated any laws. I never had any convictions, or I stayed out of trouble during the last 27 years. I work for MPS. I have a certificate for good attendance for the last couple of months. I'm very grateful for my work with my children. I am 61 years old now, and I would like to have this shameful and past behind me and move on with the rest of my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ragsdale. Questions from the board? Reverend Hancock. Oh, you're muted.
Me?
No, sorry, the Reverend. He's got a question for you.
Okay.
You've been working in the kitchens at Milwaukee Public Schools for more than 20 years. Have you always been at the same school?
No, right now I'm at Douglas, but when I first started, I was subbing. That means you go to different schools and work for somebody that wasn't there for a certain length of time.
How long have you been at Douglas?
Oh gosh, I've been at Douglas since, I was working at MEC and then moved everybody to Douglas. That's back in, I don't remember, maybe 10 years.
Okay, so you're the cafeteria lady.
Yeah. That's me. Being
How
almost
is, how does it make you feel working with kids?
Rewarding. You know, I like to work with kids. You know, they make me, you know, feel happy. And sometimes you might get some kids that had a bad day, then try to brighten their day up a little bit. You know, give them a smile and give them a nice little compliment, make them feel bad about themselves. But other than that, they're pretty good kids. Some have problems, I admit, but some don't. You know, just have to work. You have to work with it and, you know, move on.
Right. Well, and the governor will make the final decision about your pardon. But the
Okay.
Milwaukee County DA's office reviewed your application. And they
Yes.
support your getting a pardon.
Thank you.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel really, really good to have someone to know that I want to move on and want to get this blemish off my record.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that much.
Any other questions from the board for Ms. Ragsdale? No? All right. Thank you very much for your time then today, Ms. Ragsdale. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, our last applicant of the afternoon session is Brenda Williams, who I don't think is able to join us, but I'll just make last call. Ms. Williams. Okay. So that is our last applicant of the afternoon then. And at this point, I will entertain a motion to move the board into closed session under Wisconsin statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning a specific case before the board, considering specific applications, and for considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons. Do I have a motion? Cindy, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We'll move into closed session and I'll ask board members to just give us a moment to turn off the live stream.